The school board meeting to order at this time. I want to welcome everybody here this evening. It's great to see so many of our students here as well, so welcome to the school board meeting. We're glad that you're joining us. I would ask at this time if you would please silence any electronic device that you may have with you so we can avoid any disruptions during our meeting. We are going to be fortunate enough to have Pastor Mark Nelson, who's a youth pastor at Solid Rock Church of God, lead us in our invocation. Our Pledge of Allegiance will be led by the Gateway High School ROTC, and our national anthem will be sung by William Cox, who's a senior at Osceola High School. I'd ask if you'd all please stand with me at this time for our invocation, and Pastor, I welcome you.
Let's pray. Our eternal God and our Father, we thank you for this day that you have made. Lord, we thank you for the rain that we so desperately needed. Lord, we thank you that everything that will take place tonight, that you will get all the honor and the glory and the praise out of it. Continue to bless our officials in a mighty special way. Continue to bless this county like never before. We thank you in advance for all what you have done thus far and all what you're going to do throughout the rest of the school year. Remember all the tasks that are before us this evening. Just have your way. We ask your eternal blessings. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor. Gateway ROTC, if you'll come to lead us in our Pledge of Allegiance at this time.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I'd ask that you please remain standing for the singing of our national anthem. Good evening and welcome, William. Osceola High School.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose wrought stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight? Oh, the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Thank you. You may be seated at this time. And at this time, I'll turn to our Assistant Superintendent for School Support Services, Mr. Mark Muniz, for the reading of our mission statement, and then invite Dalia Medina up for translation services. Mr. Muniz.
The mission of the Osceola County School District is education which inspires all to their highest potential.
Thank you, sir. Dalia?
My name is Dalia Medina. I'm here to provide translation services. Mi nombre es Dalia Medina. Estoy aquí para proveer servicio de traducción. Gracias.
Thank you, ma'am. At this time, we'll turn for positive comments, and I'm actually going to start with our good friend, Mr. Maxwell Frost. Welcome this evening.
All right, how's everyone doing today? Great to hear. It's a beautiful day outside. I'm joking, it's raining. I got really wet. All right, so I just want to give you guys an update on the countywide student government, what we're working on. We're working on a variety of initiatives, but one of the most prominent ones is recycling in the schools. We've been working with the Valencia student government and kind of building a partnership. They recently have a surplus of their recycling stations in their schools because they are doing another initiative to save money on the plastic bags, the trash bags. So they're taking out all the recycling stations of their classrooms and just putting them in the hallways. Now, this isn't for all of Valencia, it's at certain buildings, but because of their surplus, we're working with them to see if we can get some of these for our schools and maybe pilot it at a smaller school. So, we'll have more on that later, but I just wanted to give you guys an update on that.
Great.
So, thank you for your time.
As always, it's good to see you. Mr. Wheeler?
I've got several. First, I want to start with our own Debbie Famey, who I had a parent situation that needed something for their kids and didn't know where to turn. So I had them talk to Debbie Famey, and like Debbie does, she worked it out for this mom and dad, and the parents couldn't be happier, and I'm very happy that she took care of that. Next, I want to recognize first-year head coach, head boys basketball coach at Celebration High School, Corey Green. He did a great job for his first year. He got his boys into the playoffs. They won a playoff game. Went out to Bartow, played a really good Bartow team, very tough. They were only down by 5 at the first half. They ended up losing by almost 30. The second half was a whole different story. Coach Green, though, did a real good job with his boys for a first-year head coach. He really grew into it, and I was really proud of how he did. Next, I want to recognize a partnership between Koa Elementary and Gaylord Palms. Gaylord Palms, about a year ago, was looking for a new home for one of its playgrounds because they were just renovating the facility. It was in good shape. And then I'm going to Koa Elementary, and Clyde and his team, they put it together, and we were out, Tim and I, along with the superintendent, we were out at, Tim Weiser, excuse me, we were out at Koa Elementary for the ribbon cutting, and it started out with the Koa Tunes, which is the musical group at Koa, and those kids sang like angels. And then we had the ribbon cutting, and we opened up the playground to kids. And this thing is, Clyde, your team did a great job building it because there must have been 100 kids on it at one time. And it was very gratifying. The kids had a great time. The Gaylord people enjoyed it. I know the staff at the school enjoyed it. Finally, I want to, this is a little bit of a departure. I want to thank City of St. Cloud, City of Kissimmee, and Osceola County government for participating last week in a growth management workshop that we had here. And on top of that, I really want to thank the board. This board, I've been on the board a long time. This board was engaged. They were thoughtful. They listened. They were speaking to the issues. Now, there was disagreement between some of the people in attendance and what this board had to say. But I think this board functioned at a very, very high level. I was very impressed, and I am confident that this board is on its way to being, if not one of the best board in the state of Florida. You guys all did a great job. I can't thank you enough. I'm not used to board members who come prepared, know what they're talking about, and do their homework, and listen and respond as people say, as people are talking. And I think we all did a great job. So thank you all. It's really, that was an honor being at that meeting with this board together. I'm not used to it, and it's something I want to get used to. So thank you, board. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I yield the floor.
Thank you. Mr. Soto?
Yes, briefly. This is a public meeting, so I'd like to go ahead and make share with the public a little bit about my meeting and my tour of the transportation facility. And I spent about 2 hours there a couple of Thursdays ago. And we all know just how much transportation and their critical role they have in the operations of the school district, the operation of getting our children to school safely and back. But seeing it firsthand, having been introduced by Mr. King, Mrs. Brickland, to everyone that was there, going through all the departments, their routing systems, their scheduling, their maintenance. It was very fascinating. It was almost like going through a museum, like an engineering museum. It reminded me a little bit of the times that I toured some of the ships while I was in the Navy. But it was just the level of confidence and the way people treated each other and how they carried on, the workspace, how they were organized, the maintenance, how everything was in its place, everything was clean. It was very impressive to me. I wanted to say to folks, in the county, the residents, every parent that had a student in our schools, just how much care these folks, do, and how professional they are about the tasks that they have in carrying out the transportation services. And of course, I want to congratulate Mrs. Luciano and Mark Muniz, and all their leadership to make that happen. I was very impressed with the department. And lastly, it never fails to bring a smile to my face when I go to my mailbox here at the district and I see the latest issue of The Point. This is the publication, the school newspaper by Poinciana High School. I find that it's extremely entertaining, informative. I love the work, and I cannot say enough. I'm looking forward to the end of this meeting so I could go ahead and delve right into it.
Great. Thank you. As you would say, bravo Zulu, right?
Bravo Zulu, all around.
I knew you would. Mr. Thacker?
very, very quickly, I went to a SAC meeting, coincidentally at Thacker Elementary, and they're kicking off a program on February 24th called Watchdogs, which is dads of great students, and it's not just dads, it's really male role models. It can be dads, uncles, grandfathers, but it's that's already existed in I think 4 or 5 other schools, and it seems like a great idea. And they're having their kickoff on the 24th of the month, and I think I'm going to try and make it by there and see that. Just elementary schools generally don't see a lot of males running around, so it'd be interesting to see how it works. Secondly, just very quickly, every month in our agenda we get a list of donations that occur from around the community, different people, and this month it's like $38,000. And just the staff and people, I just ask you to every now and then take a look at that. And it's like the donations and the spot. We ask for sponsors for everything under the sun that we do. And we have great partners in the community, and I think it's important to look at those partners, realize who they are, say thank you when you see them, and use them when you can. If you're out working for something or doing something and you can help them, they help us, help them back.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Booth?
All right, I'll try to be brief, but I don't know if I can or not. I just want to reach out and say thank you to all the principals in District 5. I reached out to each one of them and asked if they could add me to their calendars or give me their weekly newsletter, and each and every one of them has done that. And I know I'm going to get out to a lot of the events at some of these schools, so I appreciate you guys. Leadership Osceola, you know I brought that up last time. Dr. Akes, Ms. McMillan, hi Stacy. We're all part of the 2015 class. We had a retreat a couple weekends ago. I want to say thank you to the Sheriff's Office and the Kirchman Foundation out at Lake X. I did shimmy up a light pole and rappel down, believe it or not. They held me. No tip. All right, that's enough. Also, we had one of our leadership days this week. I want to thank the city of Kissimmee for the environmental tour. The tour of the new Lakefront Park was outstanding. Got a chance to attend the State of Osceola address. I just want to say that it was great to see those folks recognizing how big of a part the school district has to be in the growth of this county going forward. And I look forward to our joint meeting that we're going to have on March the 10th. I'm very excited about that. Earlier today, part of the reason I had my troubles earlier, but I got the chance to MC the Horsetails Literacy Project. We had 600 kids from Osceola Lake, Sumter, and Orange County over here in the Silver Spurs Arena. We had a lot of the kids from the rodeo club performing. It was an outstanding event, and I was honored to MC that. And just kind of on that same theme, just want to remind everybody the fair and the rodeo is this week and this weekend. Make sure you get out there. Those are two wonderful organizations here in this county. I know Clarence and I have both led the Silver Spurs organization and been a part of it. I got an email this week about Rodeo Day and why do we do it, and I thought I'd just speak just briefly on that. You know, it used to be so that all the kids that were involved didn't have to miss a day of school. And that still holds true for several hundred students in our county, but I think more than that, it's a celebration of our heritage. And we need to continue that. So thank you to the staff and for continuing that, and I'll always be a supporter of that. So with that, I'm done. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Booth. Superintendent?
Just one thing. Valencia College actually has a partnership with Central Avenue Elementary School. And last Friday, they had no teachers, no students out there. They had a bunch of volunteers come in, and our Central Avenue 4th and 5th grade students came on the buses, went to the campus, and actually had 3 sessions out there and spent approximately 3 hours at the campus. So when we're talking about creating that environment where our children are looking at colleges or post-secondary school, this is a perfect example of it. So I just wanted to publicly thank Valencia for helping us with that.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. Mr. Wheeler?
I apologize, I got one more. I need to recognize a teacher at Celebration High School. Richard Bird teaches world history to the lowest performing students, the kids who get the 1s and 2s. And I was with him recently and I said to him, tell me what you need in your classroom that'll help your students and help you teach better. And he sent me an email of what he needed, and he needed some instructional material. And I got a hold of Kathy Carr from the Education Foundation, who was more than happy to help out. And not only was she happy to help out, she then went on how Mr. Bird donates his time to the foundation to explain about the teacher-free store. And, you know, he's just a cheerleader for them. And she was more than happy to help out. And I saw Mr. Bird today at pickup, and I told him we got it done. He was excited. So I just want to recognize Mr. Bird and Kathy Carr putting them together. And Ms. Ponzo, you might want to bring that back to Coach Green and to Mr. Bird and let them know that I recognize them. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. A few quick ones from me. First, I just want to express my appreciation, Dr. Esposito, for all the time you spent with me over the last week or so, kind of going through some of my questions, and for your continued expertise. I know that there's a lot happening in our district that directly impacts your department, and you do a masterful job of leading and guiding us all through that process, so thank you. I also want to express the same appreciation as Mr. Wheeler for Gaylord Palms and their partnership and their donation to Coe Elementary. It was great to be there, and it was great to spend the time with both our superintendent and Mr. Wheeler. Clyde, I also want to express a similar thanks that Mr. Wheeler did to your team last week for the growth management workshop that we had. We brought some very important pieces to the table, had a robust conversation. I was very encouraged by it. I know we've got some unique challenges that we have to work through, but I expressed at the end of the meeting, but I want to express it again now. I genuinely appreciate the work that you and your team do. I know you guys are working hard to figure out how to deal with these capacity issues that we have in our district, and the work that you do day in and day out and the work to put that workshop together for us is sincerely appreciated from me. I did want to just end with mentioning as well that coming up on the 23rd, which I believe is next Monday, at Poinciana High School, I will be hosting a District 3 community update, and so I invite anybody from Osceola School District, or if you live in the District 3 area, Poinciana Boulevard, Ham Brown Road, Pleasant Hill Road, the Poinciana community, I'd invite you to come out for that update. It'll be myself, Commissioner Arrington, who's the chairman of the County Commission, Representative LaRosa, and others will be there as well. It'll be a great opportunity to hear from your elected officials about what's happening in the community and the hard work that everyone's doing to try to make sure that we're providing not only great education from where we sit, but also great economic opportunities for our community. So I invite you, Poinciana High School, the 23rd, and if I'm correct, I believe it starts at 6:30 p.m. So with that, we will move past this portion of our agenda and move into presentations. We have an adoption of a proclamation for Digital Learning Day, and Carol, I'll turn, or no? Angela.
Yes, sir. Good evening, Board. I'd like to have you extend a warm welcome to Ms. Carol Etter. She is representing the Department of Media and Instructional Technology to read our proclamation this evening.
Great. Thank you, Angela. Welcome, Carol.
Thank you, board members, Superintendent Luciano. Help us make a difference in the future of education by pledging your support March 13th for Digital Learning Day. In today's interconnected world, the way students learn is increasingly reliant on digital technologies. This doesn't mean just having the newest resources and gadgets. It means fully integrating digital learning throughout the entire educational process. In order to fully prepare our students for success in college and a career, schools and libraries everywhere need to embrace digital learning. We can't prepare every child for the digital future without your support. Help us build the wave of innovation by supporting Digital Learning Day and ensuring every child has the opportunity to learn in an innovative digital environment. The proclamation reads, whereas Digital Learning Day promotes the effective use of technology to fully prepare students for success in college and career, and whereas all students should have the opportunity to learn in a robust, innovative digital environment, and whereas all students must be prepared to be responsible digital citizens in a global society. And therefore, we, the School Board of Osceola County, Florida, do hereby proclaim March 13th, 2015 as Digital Learning Day in Osceola County and recognize the efforts of classroom teachers, administrators, parents, and community partners to provide our students with digital learning opportunities.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Board, I do have a motion by Mr. Wheeler, a second by Mr. Soto on the approval of the proclamation. Is there any comment, Board? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor please indicate by stating aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The motion does carry 5-0. The proclamation is hereby adopted by the school board. Carol, thank you for your time and presentation tonight. We have another presentation, Student Recognition, Airman of the Year, United States Air Force. My father and my grandfather be proud. Mr. Adams, I'll turn to you for this one.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to be here tonight. As we all know, the military is one choice that students have after graduation. And tonight we welcome back one of our former students who chose to enlist in the Air Force for his career. At this time, Aaron, can you come down here, please? Aaron not only enlisted in the Air Force in 2012, but was recently named the 2014 Airman of the Year. Tonight we are presenting Aaron with a certificate plaque that reads, "Rightfully earning the honor and prestige of this award for reaching the pinnacle of success, demonstrating excellence in performance, making yourself a true example of the principles for which this organization stands." Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to introduce and recognize Aaron Feliciano as 2014 Airman of the Year. Before we take a picture, Aaron did want to make a few comments.
Good evening, everyone. I'd just first like to thank everyone in the room and the entire board for having me, and this is an honor to receive from you. My family, friends, and fellow service members, you're the reason I'm here today and I'm serving. I've gotten to the point that I have. Wouldn't be here without you. And then secondly, to the teachers that took the extra time out of their day to get to know me as a person, because that was the only recognition that I needed as a student in St. Cloud High School when I was going to school, and it was the greatest recognition I could have asked for. So, thank you. Come on up, Dad.
You sat up there. Yeah.
I'll stand next to the chief.
Congratulations.
Sure. Thank you.
Congratulations again, and I'd ask that all of us take a moment right now to just recognize the men and women not only in this room, but all those around this great nation that have chose to fight and serve and protect the freedoms that we all enjoy. I'd ask that you join me in offering each of them, both in this room and around this nation, as well as the one sitting next to me, a round of applause for the sacrifice. If you're a veteran in this room, I'd ask if you'd also please stand just so that we can identify who you are. Mr. Soto.
Oh, yeah. Come on, guys. Don't be shy about it.
I know there's others in the back that are standing, and
Right on.
yes, thank you, each one of you guys. We sincerely appreciate you. Board, back to our business at hand. Superintendent, there are no appointments or transfers this evening, correct?
Just the one transfer from Highlands to Lakeview, and that is Shelby Pagan. And we we're very much looking forward to her going to Lakeview.
Do we need to approve that? Do we need to vote on that?
Is there?
Yes.
Do we need to vote on
Are you
it?
doing?
Yes.
Is there?
I'll make a motion to approve the transfer as submitted.
So moved. Second.
Tammy,
It's a lateral
It's a
transfer
lateral
as an
change.
assistant principal.
Okay.
so we won't have to worry about
Oh,
it.
so we don't have to, okay.
Thank
We'll
you.
draw the motion.
Yeah,
Okay.
thank you. Or we're good then.
Yes.
Okay. Open for public comment. I'm excited to have a number of people here to join us this evening. I want to just kind of briefly go over our protocol. First of all, there are some students, I believe, that signed up. Students, as you come up, I want you to know you do not need to state your name or address for the record. But we do welcome you to come up. What will happen is you'll come up and you'll speak at this lectern over here. You'll notice lights in front of you. Just like a traffic light, green means go, yellow means get ready to slow down, and red means stop if you'll begin to wrap up your comments if you haven't already. Adults, when you come up to speak, though, you will need to state your name and address to the record, and we'd offer the same opportunity for you to speak as well. Just in order that I have them here, and I think I separated, I tried to anyway, students and adults, so we can hear from the students. Noah is the first one that's on top. Noah, I welcome you this evening. I'd invite you to come up over here. And again, Noah, you do not need to state your name or address.
Good evening. As you already know, my name is Noah. Cadet First Lieutenant Noah Morrison. I attended Claim Academy. I had come from Celebration's IB program, and I had enjoyed it there. It was a nice challenge, a change of pace from where I was coming from, and I enjoyed the JROTC program much more than I had enjoyed the academics. And because of that, I decided to go to a military academy. Originally, I was skeptical because it was an environment that I hadn't yet known, and I was expecting to go into an environment in which my intellectual level was not quite met because my motivation was the ROTC devotion. I was pleasantly surprised the first day that I'd walked into class, and almost every one of my teachers said, "Oh, you come from IB? Well, tell me what I can do for you to make this what you need it to be." And I appreciate the fact that my teachers had not just breezed over my name, but looked into who I was, where I'd come from, and the needs that I might have to make that school what it needs to be for me. And that is the experience that I've had overall at Acclaim Academy. I've been catered to, and the staff, the cadets, the teachers, they look after not only what I need, but what everyone else needs and what they need to function. And because of that, I feel that the school has improved greatly, especially from what I've heard about previous years. With the reformation that it saw, there has been great improvement, especially in the course of the last 7 months that I've just seen. Behavior and academics, it's improving, and I'm very happy to say that I attend Acclaim Academy, and I'm proud to say that I'm an Acclaim cadet. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Jace? Jace? Good evening, sir.
Good afternoon. My name is Cadet Captain Jay Santana. I'd like to formally introduce myself because I see everybody as a very important aspect here. And I'm happy that I could be able to represent my school in this very difficult time and share the fact that I believe from other previous schools that I've come from, such as Gateway High School and Liberty High School, I can see that this school, if not already at its great presentation of what it gives academically as well as in our TC aspect, it definitely has the progress to go where it needs to be. And I'd like to thank the board here for being able to listen to each and individual student here and giving us the respect of actually being able to formally represent our school. And also putting out the fact that from what I've learned from this school, being as it was small from all the other schools that I've come from, a lot of the cadets here that I see today and that stand before you show very great response of respect that is needed for such an establishment that involves a military school. And we care for each other. We definitely consider ourselves a family, and we look out for each other. It's a very interesting thing considering how small we are, but we're willing to be here and to tell you that we are on the progress of doing something right. And even with the staff and everything that we've had, it's definitely a big improvement. And I am proud to say that I am a Claim Cadet, and I'd like to thank everybody here for listening to what I have to say.
Absolutely. Thank you, Jason. Frankie? Good evening and welcome, Frankie.
My name is Cadet Master Sergeant Frankie Spivey. I attended a Claim Academy last year, and when I heard about what the school was going through and the stress that is putting on all the teachers and students, I convinced myself to find out a way to find out what's actually happening. And I know what's happening. I've watched what happened last year, how we had pretty much the same thing happened, and we had students come in, talk. And I know what's happening this year about our, we're in F grade again. But the thing about this year, and also if, people have already asked you guys before this, but we offer you guys to please come and see how much this school has changed from last year. Last year, the ribbon cutting, that's where you attended, correct?
It's been long since the ribbon cutting. It's been within the last, I'm going to guess, 6 months or the end of last school year, I think is when the last time I was there was.
Okay. But ever since the first day of school this year, this school has had such a big impact on every single one of these students in here. And every single student is not one in, 2,000, 1,000 in a school. We have 400 cadets in our school. We have small classes. We get to interact with the teachers. It's not they teach, you can ask questions more, you have more time to interact. There's, JOGC is around everything. There's nothing that really doesn't concern it. There's always structure. The uniform brings structure to the school. It's just such a big change in integrity to our school. It's just a great feel. It would be really hard with like a family like this for it's not to be, it's this improvement. It's just steadily improving. You don't just start out at a school as like, an A school. You don't just start out. You have to build yourself up. And with all these changes that we've been making, that's what's been happening. But that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Nelson? Or Nelson? Okay.
Adult?
Yeah, we like adults too. Come on. Good evening to you, sir. Nelson, if you would state your name and address for the record.
Yes, sir. My name is Nelson Nieves Ortiz, 946 Alsace Drive, Kissimmee, and the wonderful community over there in Poinciana. And I wanted to thank y'all for giving me the opportunity to speak. I did so last year, and I was willing to come to the last two meetings, but my illnesses for my service prohibited me from that. But anyway, let's cut to the chase. I echo what all these students, parents, and teachers that come here today want to represent and want the message that they want for you to know is that it would be a great injustice for them to lose their family, okay? And for 2 years, I have seen the improvement and the effort of all the students. You hear all the stories because I learned to listen while I was in the service. You hear from the students, you hear from the teachers. Now, duty, honor, country, morals, okay? And more importantly, values. That's what this great nation of ours, that's the trouble we're going through now. Where does it start? It starts down here, where we're at, okay? It starts down here, it starts with institutions like a Claim Academy. We should not close the Claim Academy. We should clone it, and spread it out to these great United States, period. Okay, and I'm not talking about military, and yeah, I got all this stuff on. It doesn't matter. I'm not trying to make, and none of the teachers, nobody trying to make these kids soldiers. They're trying to make them citizens, good citizens, not citizens that go and
kill other students in schools, not citizens. Like you know, a couple of days ago, about 1,000 kids storming. That's lack of discipline. That's lack of moral. Them words, just remember them words. That's what all politicians, elected officials, and everybody in the world, those are the words, the first words they speak out. That's what they base their campaigns on it. Then make it happen. Please, you board members, have that passion and listen to them. Make them words mean something. Make them mean something. Let's change this country. Numbers is not everything. I was a drill sergeant and I never had the best class in the world. But there were soldiers and a lot of them came back to me because I didn't go to the Second War. I was an instructor and they thanked me. Why? Because I taught them how to stay alive. I taught them the values. I taught them the drills. I taught them the discipline. I taught them all you see right here. All these instructors are teaching the same thing. And that's what the difference is. My boy is an AB student, has always been an AB student. But the difference is the Claim Academy has brought out the leadership, the compassion for other students, the right things to do. Okay, the rate is there. Thank you for everything. And please represent us when you go up to Tallahassee. Please. Okay?
Thank you, sir. Deborah? Deborah? Good evening, Deborah.
Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Deborah Sobrato Diaz. I live at 640 Brockton Drive, Kissimmee, Florida, 34758. Go. Okay. So I'm here representing my nephew and these students who I can personally say as a student who graduated from Osceola County, I see the difference. I went to 3 different public schools in Osceola County, and what they're teaching them here is completely different from the education that they can get in the other schools. These students are humble, selfless, they have a strong sense of community, and even though they're getting the proper education through the school system, there's another education system that they're also learning, which is how to be a good human being. A diploma will only take you so far, but what they are learning, that'll take them anywhere else. Diploma only gets you through the door. Character will carry you further. And these students have it. A nation wasn't built within 4 or 5 years. It was built within hundreds of years and hundreds of errors. And it's not gonna take a day for them to get better. It's gonna take quite a while, so don't lose hope on them because obviously they haven't lost hope themselves. Give them the opportunity to grow, and I know these kids aren't going to let you guys down. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Carlos? Carlos? Good evening, Carlos, and welcome.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Captain Carlos Zayas, commander of the Raider team, commander of companies, one company. I'm also a senior at the school. First, I just want to say is this school has changed so much. You can look at everybody in this room, and you see that their discipline is up the chain. If you see last year, if any of you guys came to the school, you'll see that most of them they lacked the discipline. I'm kind of nervous.
You're fine.
The one word I want to say is just chance. Give us the chance to prove to you guys that we are capable of being a great school. We are a great school, and you can see it in their faces that we want to save the school. That's why we're all here, to save the school. And that's all I want to say.
Great. Thank you. Well done, Carlos. John Sanders. Good evening, John, and welcome. Yes, sir. John,
my
and
name
if
is
you-
John Sanders. My address is 664 Bluebell Court here in Kissimmee, Florida. I want to thank everyone for allowing us to come speak. But most of all, I want to thank you cadets for showing up and showing your pride in your school, in your country, and in this community. 2 claps at a hoo-up! Hoo-up! You've got over 40 cadets here. We've got over 100, I got a student petition here that in less than 24 hours, over 110 students signed. They want to save their school because they're proud of it and because they are showing gains, both educationally, emotionally, mentally, physically. Not only that, you've got to realize that these are your future constituents. These are your future voters. Some of them will be voting this year. Look at what you have to look forward to. This is the future of our country. With Acclaim Academy, they've instilled a lot of pride in these students in not only the uniform they wear, but the way they go about their business. I'm proud of each and every one of you, and I'm also proud of what the school is trying to do with these students, with the students that come in, that are being brought into this institution. Currently, the school has a waiver up at Tallahassee right now. And what I would like to ask, and I would hope for with each and every one of the board members, is support of that waiver. We're asking that the school be allowed to stay open for another year to show the gains and the improvements that I know are happening, that I see in these students and that I see every day. And so we ask that the support of the board. I've personally emailed all of the board members, as you know. I'm probably getting on some of your nerves, but guess what? That's me, and you're just going to have to deal with it. I've also emailed the state, and I've talked to Mr. Miller today. I spent time with Dr. Esposito today. We are trying to figure out what we as parents can do to make things better. I understand, and if you look at the grades from the school, and you look at, the way they're judging the school is based on gains against other schools in the area. If you look at the numbers, and they categorize them as red versus green. If you look at the numbers and you look at the accents, instead of looking at the colors, look at the percentage points. When you look at weighted versus non-weighted gains, there are categories where there's a 30% improvement over the other schools they are comparing us to in the local area. So I ask you, I plead with you, take a look at all these faces in front of you, this sea of green, and look at their future and have their future in mind. And we ask for your support. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Wheeler?
Yeah, I just want to be very brief. John, thank you for your comments. Mrs. Luciano, you sent out an email today. Let me just make sure I got it right. Didn't the charter operator withdraw their waiver request?
Not yet.
They did not.
Not yet.
Okay, that's what I thought. Okay, that's all I wanted to know. Thank you.
Mr. Wheeler, they did not withdraw.
No, I got an email from the
fact.
superintendent. That's why I wanted to clarify that.
Yeah, that's what was stated. It has not been withdrawn.
I wasn't sure. That's why I asked the superintendent.
Okay. Romanita? Did I get that right? Good evening to you, ma'am, and welcome.
My name is Romanita Perez. I live at 2828 Berkshire Circle, Kissimmee, Florida. I'm here to help represent this school as a parent. A little emotional because I just want to say that my son has started last year and he has been in a lot of trouble in other schools, and I have to say that not once, no, I have to say once maybe, he's been in trouble, not the extended amount of time he was, like when he was at Gateway. He was suspended multiple times, which we are not proud of. However, he's been doing very well at Acclaim Academy, and I see the dedication that they all have as a small big family, like I call it. Their runs, their marches, they're very respectful. They're all in uniform, and they have just the way they treat each other and the families. I find it very, family-like, which you don't really see in a regular in public schools. Charter schools are more small. I like the small class sizes. I like the small school, and maybe that's something that's better for my son. And I just want to say to please think about it and look at these children. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Chris? Good evening, Chris, and welcome to you as well. If you would, Chris, state your name and address for the record.
My name is Chris Foch. I live on 2565 Ham Brown Road in Kissimmee. First of all, thank you for letting us have this time to speak and hearing our voice. I also appreciate everything the board has done to date on trying to make the best decision you can. The laws are what the laws are, and it's a tough spot to be in, I understand. But at the same time, some of the things that we're talking about here and that we're having to deal with, I know this may not be the forum for some of it, but the stick that they're measuring us all by, I don't know that everyone should be measured by one single standard because not everybody fits into one box. We have, I know that's not a problem for us here right now. That's a bigger problem, a bigger thing. But the point being that the needs of the child is far more than just how well they score on a math or science quiz. The needs of the child go into everything about that kid. Their heart, their mind, their soul, if you will, for lack of a better word. And what they're being taught here, what they're getting from a claim, takes care of all of those things and more. Because I do know that we do need to have standards. We do need to have a message we want to put out to the community and to the rest of the state when they look at Osceola County. But is our message that we're going to continue to be slaves to an ideology that says that people can only fit in one? If you don't fit in one little box, then there's nothing for you. Or are we big enough that we can have room for other opportunities? I don't know where these guys are going to go and get the same thing they're getting. There are other opportunities, other schools, yeah, but what schools are like Acclaim? I don't think there are any, right? This is a unique situation. And the changes that they've made, I can't speak from previous years. I don't know Acclaim from previous years. I can only speak what I've seen from this school year. But yet the grade that they got is from the past, from the previous season, right? Or previous school year, is that right, when this test was taken? If you would support us and allow and getting that one more year to prove to you that these scores they're fixing to get are going to be far, far better than what you've seen previously, I think we'd all be well served by that. So that's what we're up here to ask you, just for one more shot at this, and I think it's going to make you proud. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. You know, Chris, I like you, but now it's time for your better half, Rhonda, right? Rhonda, if you come up at this time. Good evening and welcome, Rhonda. If you would state your name and address for the record as well, please.
My name is Rhonda Fudge, and I also live at 2565 Ham Brown Road, Kissimmee.
Imagine that.
My husband and I are both military. We both served in the Air Force, and we come from families that have served both in military and law enforcement, and we are proud. We are Americans to the core. And I was so proud of our son when he said, I want to go to Acclaim Academy. I want to go to the Air Force Academy, and I want to be a fighter pilot. That just, it made me so proud as a mom. And I had to write this down because I've been running a speech through my head all day, and I know I only have 3 minutes, not 8 hours. So this summer, we have the choice of either sending him to a regular public high school he is zoned for, or to Acclaim. After we researched the school, we decided that Acclaim was everything we wanted in a school. It not only teaches him academics, but life skills, such as leadership, that he could not get at a regular school. Since he started this year, we have noticed a huge improvement in his maturity, respect, and motivation. Like I said, his goal is to become a fighter pilot. We feel that the daily structure he is receiving at Acclaim will help him achieve this goal. I understand that you as a school board have a responsibility to ensure the education of kids in your districts. But it's my responsibility as a parent to ensure the proper education of my child. I feel it should be my decision if I choose a school that is stronger in teaching life lessons, discipline, and respect over a school that doesn't. Acclaim is improving, and I want to be able to choose for myself which school my son attends, not have it dictated for me. What Acclaim has that no other school does is a sense of family. If you have never been in the military, it is hard to understand the bond that develops between people in a unit. We become one person, one unit, one family. We rely on each other. Acclaim teaches that. They show these young men and women how to become successful adults, not by putting others down through bullying or other tactics, but by raising up those around them. When a fellow student is having problems, they don't leave him or her by the wayside. They pick them up and help them through. That is the true mark of a leader, and that is what Acclaim gives these kids that no other school does. I ask you to consider leaving Acclaim open for another year so we can show you the leaders that this school is developing. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Rhonda. And is there another Rhonda as well? Okay. Rhonda 2?
Yep.
Welcome to you as well, ma'am.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. If you'll please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Rhonda Carpenter, and my address is 1654 Ann Drive, Kissimmee, Florida, 34758.
Thank you, ma'am.
I'm a proud parent of Acclaim Academy. My son is Frankie. He came up here and spoke earlier. Frankie came from New Beginnings, and his future wasn't looking too great when he was in middle school. And Acclaim Academy opened up, and I was looking into it, and I decided I was going to give it a shot, and he was reluctant to go. And ever since he's been at Acclaim Academy, I cannot believe the change in him. He is responsible, he's respectable, and he's disciplined, and he's become a leader. And I'm just so amazed at what this school has done for him. And I'm just here to plead for Acclaim Academy to please keep it open another year, because I think it would be a misfortune to close the school. And I see a lot of integrity in my son, and I think that's very important to have to go out into the world when they're adults. So I just thank you for the opportunity to speak, and I just pray that you give them an opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Rhonda. Janet Martinez? Good evening, ma'am, and welcome to you.
Good evening. I'm a little slow. I'm sorry, my back hurts.
No, you're okay.
Good evening to you all. My name is Jeanette Martinez. I live in 4202 Old Berry Road here in Kissimmee. As you all know, I'm here also on behalf of Acclaim Academy. I'm a proud parent of 2 boys there. A lot of the parents are coming home today, for those who have not received it yet, to the letter of the closing of the 90-day termination process. It kind of broke my heart when I saw it. A lot of mixed emotions. I know that the state right now is the one in charge of the waiver. I work for a criminal defense attorney, so I have a little bit of time. I might get in trouble for saying this, but kind of used a little bit of the phone to call the Florida Department of Education, and they said that next week, I believe at 2:15 on the 24th or the 25th, they're going to speak about the waiver, if it's going to be approved or denied. And I know you're not the enemy here. And I thank you all for the opportunity you've given to Claim Academy to sit down and listen to each and every one of us. And I know you're going to do everything in your hands that you can to help us in whichever way, because you have been doing this so far. So I thank you all for that. And I am extremely proud of all of you. First meeting, we were just a little group. Mr. Wheeler said that there was a couple more. I think we kind of stand out now. So thank you all for being here, teachers and students. I am extremely proud of you. I mean, what you've accomplished here today, I know it's more than what I can give. So thank you very much for coming here today and standing up for what you believe. I really encourage you to continue no matter what happens. You guys are all winners in my book. I'm very, very proud of you. I'm proud of my kids. I'm proud of each and every one of you. I accept you all as my own. But please don't stop fighting for what you believe. Even if it's this or anything in life, I encourage you to continue doing the things that you are doing. You are all exceptional students. You are all great. The staff is great as well. I am very, very proud of you at Claim Academy. Thank you all for taking this time. I have not too much until I know what happens, but this kind of broke my heart a little bit. But thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, ma'am. Justin? Good evening, Justin, and welcome to you, sir.
Good evening, sir.
And Justin, you do not need to state your name or address, okay?
Before I went to Claim Academy, I got bullied a lot at Discovery Intermediate School, and when my parents went to go talk to the dean there, they gave my mom, well, my mom got an option. Either they keep me and put me with a different dean, or my mom could just homeschool me. She homeschooled me, and then I started at Claim, and now if I get bullied, all I have to do is write a statement about it, and instantly they'll go and take care of that person. And last time I got bullied, they gave the person 100 push-ups because he shoved me, and I wrote a statement, went to TAC, and they took care of it right away. And even though I'm probably not going to be there next year, I still want a place for people that get bullied like I was, for somewhere to go so they could be safe and not deal with any bullies. Thank you.
Thank you, Justin. Well done, Justin. And all students, it takes a lot of courage to come up and speak before a body like this, and not because we're anything important, but it just can be an intimidating process. So, Justin, I'm proud of you and all you students for doing that.
Kelvin's intimidating.
Yeah, Kelvin is intimidating, but the rest of us aren't. Migdalia?
That's a very good observation, Tim.
Sir Migdalia? Good evening, ma'am. I welcome you if you would state your name and address for the record.
Yes, Migdalia, 1005 Bourgeline. And I want to thank you again for receiving me one more time. I want to take this opportunity and remind you that our students in the school, they used to be from ESC program. And mostly those kids, when they come from that program, they do have problem, with the schoolwork. But since they're in this school, they're doing so great, getting, good grades, and the behavior have improvement. So I want to keep in mind that the students from the ESE program, if you look at the book, mostly they came from that program, and there was bull in the other school. So this school, they are doing better. And that's why I came one more time, talk to you guys, just to remind you guys, keep in mind they came from ESE program, and mostly they were bullying. So keep in mind that. And I appreciate it one more time, having this open for us parents. Thank you very much, and please keep this in mind. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Eliza? Good evening, Eliza. And you do not need to state your name or address, okay?
All right. Last time I was here, I decided to tell you guys about what's going on. This time I decided to write a little poem, or not really a poem, a story. Doesn't rhyme.
It's all right, not all poems do.
All right. This is where we may stand, so that we can fight for our school. We are all here because we want Acclaim to stay open. Acclaim is a place where you are welcome. It's a place where you may know, or may walk in knowing nothing, and walk out knowing something new. We can go to Acclaim every single day and become better than we were yesterday. For better or worse, we stand tall, with our pride above the sky. We can't back down, not until we fall. We constantly improve. Every single day, we are all humans. We laugh, we cry, we make mistakes. But without second chances, how would we ever learn? How would we ever improve on our mistakes? This uniform represents the responsibilities we carry together. If one fall, we all fall. If one rise, we all rise. We work together. We're like a beam bridge. If one of the piles break, the bridge will no longer stand. The piles work together to keep the bridge standing. That's why if you close the school, you're destroying a team. No, you're destroying a continent. And is that what our beautiful country is about? No, it's about learning from our mistakes and improving them, showing us that we do matter, that you all will not give up on us so easily. We all have tremendous pride in our school, and it is not fair for such a wonderful school such as this one to be shut down. To compare the cadets in this school to those students in other schools. Look at the difference in the quality of us in this school to surpass the average public school. The students at Acclaim Academy are taught discipline, respect, honor, and so much more. Why should Acclaim Academy stay open? You ask? It teaches our generation to be respectful and responsible young adults who will grow up to be valued members of our society. We say our pledge and creed every single morning with faith, pride, honor, and our teachers believe in us and we believe in our team, them. And we believe in them. We will stand tall, high and mighty until we fall. Be the best. That's it.
Thank you. Emmy Torres. Good evening, ma'am, and welcome.
Good evening, sir.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Emmy Torres. My address is 1104 Munster Court, Kissimmee, Florida, 34759. I'm here. I can finally apply my speech skills that I've been learning in school. I'm here representing as a parent, as a local volunteer to the schools, because I am volunteer to other schools as well. Of all these cadets here, my daughter started Acclaim Academy this year. She went to Liberty last year, and typical teenager, ran into some issues, and Acclaim opened their doors to her. And I can tell you that I haven't seen my daughter she's made such a major improvement. She has gained family. I can't even say friends, family. I've gained friends and family. All these cadets here, I know most of them. I participate in all the events, volunteering, and I chaperone for their dances. This is a wonderful school. I'm not only speaking for my daughter, I'm speaking for a lot of students that some can be honor students, some can, come from troubled past, and Acclaim Academy does a big difference to them. The teachers, everything. It would be such sorrow to see this school close. I also got the letter that Jeanette spoke about today, and it really kind of was like a reality hit. Just knowing that it's really true. I wasn't dreaming. And I came here today to represent them. I'm really proud of all of you guys as well. Never give up on anything that you really feel true for. Keep on fighting, because thank you for the opportunity for coming and letting us speak, because this is how we fight and get what we really feel passionate for. I would also ask for your support to keep this school open. There's times that things don't develop overnight. They need the chance to be able to prove who they are, to prove where they're going. Because they definitely have the potential. Every single one of them. The teachers are the best teachers that I have 4 children in different schools, and these are one of the best teachers that I've ever run into. They feel passionate about school, they feel passionate about their students. And anything happens, I get a phone call, I get a text immediately. The discipline is incredible. And the students just feel at home. They feel like they're family. They look forward to going to school. I look forward to my daughter going to school. I love seeing her in the uniform, the discipline. I mean, there's nothing negative I can say about this school, and it's just made such an impact in my daughter's life, as well as everyone and the ones that are not here to represent as well. So I ask for the support, along with everybody else, to please help us keep the school open.
Thank you, Ms. Torres. Andrew. Good evening and welcome to you tonight, Andrew. And Andrew, again, you do not need to state your name or address, okay?
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
I am First Sergeant Perez of Charlie Company. Last year I rolled into school. It had difficulties, like every school does when it first opens. Excuse me. But as of this year, it improved tremendously. My brother enrolled. My brother got bullied throughout his whole entire life, size, weight, size, weight, everything. When he came to the school, he made friends the first day, and I was surprised by that. Not really surprised, but this school is not friends, it's family. We all have each other's back. Let's say one of us is going through something, we're all there supporting them. One of us crying, we're all there comforting them. It's just how we are. We're a family, we're a team, we're one body. That's how we are. So for you guys to suggest breaking up a family, that's not right for any kind of family. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Rodriguez, William Rodriguez. Good evening, sir.
Hey, how you guys doing?
Doing well, thank you. Good evening and welcome. If you would please state your name and address for the record.
William Rodriguez, 2115 The Oaks Boulevard, Kissimmee.
Thank you, sir.
I'd like to thank everybody for giving us the opportunity here to talk. Mainly what I want to say is that I recently moved to Osceola County from Orange County. Lived in Hunters Creek for almost 10 years. Making the move to Osceola County, I have 2 stepsons and 2 biological sons. I love my stepsons more than anything. They're the first level to teach my younger boys how to live. I have 4 boys. To think that my kid was going to be going to a school that has a lot of drug problems, a lot of STD problems, a lot of problems that he even told me about living in Orange County that he shouldn't even know, I didn't even know. And that's Liberty High School, and I won't let him go there. And if I have to move, if I have to move out of my home to move back to Orange County to get another school or Harmony or something, then I'm going to do it. But I believe that I've been telling my kids that there's two things you have the opportunity to do. Go to the military, go to college, or get a scholarship and go to college. My son plays football for Liberty High School. It's the only thing I'll let him do there. He walks there every day after school. If not, I drive him. It's a sacrifice that we make, but it's a better education, I believe, where he's going now. The test scores reflect last year's academics and the year prior to that academics. It don't reflect this current year's academics. And I think that, the state saying that, yes, they could have up to 3 years, I think that this board should give them that 3rd year to check and evaluate the test scores of this year, because they did increase last year over this year. And again, they're going to increase again. And hopefully, they've gotten rid of some of the statistics that have brought down some of those scores. And I mean, those are kids that don't want to be there and kids that give you problems. And every school has them. But that's all I had to say. I really appreciate your time. And also, I believe in Osceola County schools. I donate my time and services, my company's time, to 9-year elementary schools. We give at least $1,500 to $2,000 each school because we love the kids. I own a kids entertainment company, you know. But if my kid will not go to Liberty or Point Siena High School, because I don't believe that 9 fights and drug deals every day is where I want to send my kid to school.
Thank you, sir. Alex? Good evening, Alex, and welcome to you also.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. And Alex, you do not need to state your name or address.
Okay, well, I'm Alex, obviously, as you know. I'm a little bit nervous, so bear with me, please. Acclaim Academy is something that is for the better, and if this school really gets closed, then a lot of kids will be like disappointed and sad that the fact that they've grown a bond with people from all over. Like, there's no discrimination based on race, gender, size. We're all a family, and once we put on this army green, we're a team and a family. And my mind went totally blank, so thank you.
Thank you, Alex. Digma? Thank you, ma'am. I apologize if I said that wrong.
You pronounced it right.
All right. Good evening to you, ma'am. If you would state your name and address for the record.
Good evening. My name is Digma Quiles. I live at 936 Albertville Court in Kissimmee.
Thank you.
I am a proud mom from the Acclaim Academy. I have 2 cadets, 2 female cadets. I am very proud of the improvement and security that they have right now in school. I have seen the improvements not only in their behavior but also academic as well. As you know, there's a lot of bullying in other schools. My oldest daughter, she was super shy. Now she actually has friends. She is happy to go to school. I am very proud. My father is a veteran as well, so it is a completely the best thing that could ever happen to us. The instructors, Chief, Sergeant Rock, all the teachers, it is actually a family. As soon as you come to the school, you feel welcome. All of the kids, if you look at them. They look awesome. When you go to the parades, they're well behaved, they show respect. They're there for each other, and that's the #1 priority and peace of mind for us parents. For our kids to be able to be happy, to enjoy school, to be happy to have the teacher support, the parent support. And I'm a little bit nervous, but I just want to say thank you for everything.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Wheeler?
I'd like to address all the students that are here. First off, every one of you has reason to be proud. You represent yourself well. You're obviously, you've got a lot of character, you've got a lot of courage. You're willing to stand up for what you believe in, which is more than a lot of people can say in any walk of life. So you can all hold your heads high. Whatever you do in life, take the lessons that you've learned, take the passion that you have, channel them into positive endeavors, which may not always be the most popular endeavor. But I think you've learned about commitment, you've learned about teamwork, you've learned a lot of important lessons, and every one of you is impressive and is going to do great things no matter where you go or what you do in life. Just take the lessons that you've learned, that obviously you value, and keep building on those lessons wherever you go and whatever you do. You're going to touch people that you haven't met yet, and they're going to be better for it. I'm proud of each and every one of you for coming here tonight. You're the most impressive thing I've seen in this boardroom in a very, very long time. So give yourselves all a hand. Thank you all.
A couple things I'd like to mention. First of all, I could only just say ditto to everything that Mr. Wheeler said. It was very well stated. And students, you did a great job. And parents, we sincerely appreciate you coming out tonight to express your support for your students and your support for Acclaim. I think there's a couple of things that are important. I'll start with the letter that you received. Some of you received, or those of you that haven't, will be waiting for you when you get home. That letter was sent with the most pure intention to make you aware of the process that is taking place, the process that, as many of you know or some of you may not know, is outside what this board particularly has purview over. As you can imagine, there is state law that we have to operate within, just as is federal law above that as well. The law says that if there's 2 consecutive Fs, the school board shall, not may consider, but shall terminate the contract for the charter. And I think that's an important piece to understand in this. As I've expressed previously, and if you go back a year ago when a claim was here and we were talking about the first F that a claim had, I was very purposeful in saying that not only did I welcome a claim to this community, but I wanted to see a claim succeed. And that I wanted a claim to do everything that they could over the next year so that we didn't have to have a conversation like this, because we all knew, including a claim, what the laws that we have to operate under are. It was my sincere hope that a claim would succeed and would do what was needed so that it wasn't an F again. Nonetheless, that has brought us to where we are. The process for where we are is that, as has been shared by numbers of individuals tonight, and as you're aware and as is stated in the letter that was sent to you, is that at this point the decision is in the hands of the review panel with regard to the waiver request. Should that waiver request go through, then at that point there is an opportunity for a claim beyond that. But again, going back to what the spirit in the letter of the law states, is that the school board shall. The other thing I think that's important to note is that this board was very clear, I think, a number of meetings ago, to express the desire to continue to see a claim operate. The board could have terminated the school that very night and said, look, it got it, this is what it is, it's not working, and so the school needs to cease to operate. That is not the spirit of what the school board wants at all. The school was very clear that we wanted to see the school continue. We wanted to come alongside of what was happening at that school and make sure that the support was there. I've expressed my personal support for a claim. I've also expressed to you that I genuinely believe in the ideal of what a claim stands for. And the comments that were made earlier about integrity and commitment and service and all of the other ideals that we all talk about and we all believe in, morality, character, teamwork, I genuinely believe in the importance of those components. So those are the very same things that I look for in my own business and in my own life when I'm looking to either find my friends or the people that are going to work alongside of me or with me. That is what a claim has been trying to teach you. I believe it's a great thing. I think it's exactly what should be being taught each and every day, not only in all of our schools, but really, as stated earlier, throughout our nation. So please know that this is not a matter of the school board not believing in the ideal of what it is that a claim is trying to achieve, but understand that there is a law that we also are held to a standard by and that we have to operate within. That being said, I'll go back to what Mr. Wheeler said at the beginning. Students, you did a fabulous job. Students, continue to stand up for what you believe in. Continue to choose, regardless of what happens over the next week, I guess it is, with the state. Continue to choose to take the same things that you've been being taught, you've been living out at a claim in every aspect of your life, both in your current educational pursuits, your military pursuits, or your career pursuits. What the people at a claim have been trying to pour into you is valuable and will continue to be valuable to you throughout the rest of your life. And it's my hope and my sincere prayer and my encouragement to you that you'll continue to live that out each and every day. Parents, I want you to know that I've expressed it at the last meeting, I believe even the meeting before that. It is my personal desire to speak with you. I know that this is a challenging time, that everyone is uncertain about what's going on. The letter that you received was also something that I wanted to see happen, because I wanted to make sure that there wasn't uncertainty, that you weren't getting misrepresentations or half-truths, so we're kind of left in the dark about what really is or what isn't happening. As we see what happens with the state, it will be my personal pleasure to meet with each and every one of you, to talk with you, to answer your questions, as well as to try to help lead and guide you through this process. I hope you know that I believe I can speak for the entire board when I say it is not the board's desire to not see a claim succeed. That has always been our desire, and that has been exactly what's been afforded an offer to a claim. There is also, though, the law that we have to operate within, so I think that's important. Mr. Sanders, I will just recognize you just one last time, and then we do need to move on, though, as well, but I do want to recognize it.
Mr. Chairman, I agree with what you're saying to a certain extent, but I'm not going to call out anyone by name, but I will tell you that I did email other members of the board, and I did receive a response, and the response from that individual stated, the school will close. They're not waiting for the state. That's their opinion. They're stating it will close as if in regardless of what the state has to say, which I feel is prejudiced and a detriment to these cadets.
Okay, thank you. I understand. Okay. With that said, parents, you are absolutely, and students, you're welcome to stay for the balance of our meeting. I'm glad that you chose to join us here this evening. We'll look forward to seeing what the state does in the upcoming days or weeks ahead of us. And at this time, if you want to leave and move on, you're welcome to. If you want to stay, then that's welcome as well. We are going to move on with the balance of our agenda tonight. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Board, we are at the time on our agenda for agenda modifications. Board, I don't have any. I will go to my left first, Mr. Wheeler.
I've added a few things at the end. Other than that, I'm good to go, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Soto.
I'm fine, thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Thacker. Mr. Booth?
Good.
Superintendent, anything additional? Okay, Mr. Brown, you're good as well?
Well, there's two items I want to discuss very briefly.
Right.
For executive session.
Great, thank you. So, Board, with that, there are no modifications. I'll entertain a motion at this time.
Approve the consent agenda as submitted.
Second.
Thank you, Board. I have a motion by Mr. Wheeler with a second by Mr. Booth on the approval of the consent agenda. Board, is there any discussion? Hearing, seeing none, all those in favor, please indicate by stating aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The motion does carry 5-0. Board, that brings us down to information items. First information item, Career and Technical Education Month. We'll turn to Belinda Pinkston, who may be, I see her back there. She's going to try to make her way in a moment.
Tim, can I say something?
Yes, please.
I just want to say thank you to Clyde for sending out the information that I requested on item number 9. So I appreciate that, Clyde. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. What did I do?
Belinda, you made it through okay?
I did.
Good evening, Board and Superintendent Luciano. It is a privilege to stand here before you and share with you some updates on our career and technical education programs within our district. Governor Rick Scott has proclaimed this as Career and Technical Education Month, so I would like to read the proclamation. Whereas profound economic and technological changes in our society are rapidly reflected in the structure and nature of work, placing new and additional responsibilities on our educational system. And whereas the efforts of career and technical educators, business, and industry stimulate the growth and vitality of our local economy and of the entire nation by preparing graduates for careers that are forecast to experience the largest and fastest growth in the next decade. And whereas career and technical education serves as the backbone of a strong, well-educated workforce and contributes to Florida's mission to become the global destination for jobs and America's leadership in the international marketplace. And whereas the workers of tomorrow are in our classrooms today, and career and technical education provides Floridians with a school-to-careers connection, helping students experience practical and meaningful applications of any number of skills. And whereas more than 559,000 secondary job preparation and post-secondary career and technical education students in Florida engage in this type of meaningful education. And whereas secondary schools in all 67 school districts all 28 Florida public colleges and 47 technical centers offer career and technical education courses. And whereas more than 232,000 secondary students are enrolled in more than 1,900 registered career and professional education academies and nearly 3,000 registered career-themed courses and have earned almost 57,000 industry certifications. And whereas over 8,000 secondary career and education teachers are inspiring students to succeed in college and careers. And whereas career and technical education offers individuals lifelong opportunities to learn new skills and gain advanced workforce training, providing career choices and potential satisfaction. Board, I ask that you approve this proclamation, acknowledging the efforts of all of our career and technical education instructors within our district. And I would be remiss if I didn't recognize the wonderful staff that I work with every day who support learning in our schools. So again, Board, I submit this proclamation to you this evening for your approval.
So moved.
Thank you, Board. We do have a motion by Mr. Booth with a second by Mr. Wheeler on the adoption of the proclamation that was just shared with us. Is there any discussion on this item, Board? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor, please indicate by stating aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The motion does carry. Belinda, thank you for your work.
Thank you.
I know you've got more for us, but we're
Yes, I
with
do.
you.
Thank you, Mr. Weisshire.
Yes, ma'am.
We have been working diligently to ensure that the efforts within our department and across our district are aligned with the 2014-15 strategic goals. So I share with you that alignment, ensuring that our programs are aligned with the strategic plan, and also a focus on cultivating partnerships between the district, businesses, and the community. And I provided for you examples of those initiatives. Whenever we implement new CTE programs within our district, we strive to be very deliberate and very purposeful in selecting those programs. So I wanted to share with you the factors that we review as we determine whether to implement a new program. I draw your attention to, they're all important, but I want to draw your attention specifically to our goal of preparing our students to assume careers in high wage and high demand. We strive to align our programs with a career pathway so that our students can successfully go into Valencia or TICO or any other post-secondary institution. We also work with CareerSource of Central Florida, again, to ensure that the programs that we are implementing align with those trends in careers. And speaking of those trends, this is a sample of careers that are currently on the 2014-15 Florida statewide demand occupation list. A review of these trends of careers enables us to prepare our students to successfully embark upon a post-secondary career. For example, we are currently working in conjunction with the Education Foundation to replicate the medical pipeline only along the lines of construction. As you can see, our economy is coming back very strong in this area, and again, we want to be able to prepare our adults within our community as well as our students to embark upon being able to enter these careers. We are also working in collaboration with Orange County Public Schools and our local governmental entities here, as well as in Orange County with TICO and Valencia, to establish a public safety academy. We are hearing from law enforcement, from fire departments, that they need a prepared workforce. So again, this is a very exciting opportunity for our students and adults here in Osceola County, and again, we're working in conjunction with Orange County. I've had an opportunity to stand before you and bring you a presentation on new programs that we have implemented within our high schools. So I want to provide just a brief update on where those programs are. At Celebration High School this year, we implemented a gaming and simulation program. This program at Celebration has taken off like gangbusters. Just this semester, they have had to increase the number of sections of courses offered because of student demand. At St. Cloud High School, we implemented a business institute. We're starting with a freshman class. Again, this program is doing well. Also, they are working to provide their students with, as we are in all of our career and technical education programs, real-world opportunities. St. Cloud High School has partnered with the St. Cloud City Government to enable the students an opportunity to run a business on the lakefront. So as the weather warms up and spring is coming, if you want to rent a bike, get some exercise, see the lakefront, this is an opportunity for you to get some healthy activity going, as well as supporting the students at St. Cloud High School in the Business Institute. We have also at OHS, Osceola High School, this year implemented the horticulture program and lodging and hospitality. With horticulture, we are working to cultivate a partnership with the University of Florida Extension Office in Agriculture, which is located right across the street from us at Heritage Park. We want to be able to leverage their resources to support not only the horticulture program at OHS, but also the agriculture program at Harmony High School. Again, this affords our students an opportunity to learn about the various careers within agriculture and to prepare them to assume those roles. Lastly, with lodging and operations and hospitality, we have worked to cultivate a very strong partnership with the Gaylord Palms. And we are working on getting our students internships with the Gaylord, having them go on field trips, having their hospitality management team come and speak to our students, again, providing that real-world experience as to what it's going to take for them to successfully go out and become gainfully employed. As you know, we very recently opened 2 TICO facilities, one in St. Cloud and one in Point Siena, in addition to the main campus on Simpson Road. We are working very diligently to make sure that the community is well aware of the programs that are offered at these facilities, as well as working with our high schools within our district to afford our students dual enrollment opportunities, where they take courses not only on their campuses, but again, avail themselves of the opportunities at the TICO facilities. I had an opportunity to sit down with each of the principals at our comprehensive high schools and their leadership teams to assess the viability of the programs that they are offering on their campus. Again, we want to make sure that these programs are aligned with high-wage, high-demand job opportunities for our students, that they are providing our students, again, with the skills necessary to go out and successfully embark upon a post-secondary career. I have listed just a few of the indicators that let us know whether a program is robust, whether it's successful. I shared this action plan, and there was an action plan created for each of our high schools. We looked at industry certifications, we looked at enrollment, we looked at whether they had advisory boards. Again, we looked at a number of factors to gauge how well the programs were doing and made tweaks and changes as necessary. Again, this was done for each of the comprehensive high schools. I also got input from Ms. Jeanette Eddy from TICO. We worked very closely with Valencia and their career and technical education dean, as well as Career Force, again, to make sure that the decisions that we're making, that the programs that we are implementing are very deliberate and very purposeful and lead to jobs for our students and the members of our community. Lastly, if you had an opportunity to hear Superintendent Luciano's State of Education address, she focused on college and career readiness. So these are the goals that we have for our students, making sure that they have those skills that employers are looking for. The soft skills, being able to submit an error-free resume, being able to show up for a job interview on time, sending a thank you note, all of those things that we take for granted that our young people might not be aware of. And also making sure that they have the technical skills. We want to offer cross-disciplinary opportunities, and you'll see listed Go Vertical. What that is an opportunity for our CTE teachers at the other end of the curriculum house to work with our core teachers. For example, we want our construction teacher working with the geometry teacher so that, again, the students are not only getting the academic skills necessary to be college and career ready, but they can take those skills learned in that geometry class and then apply them in the geometry class so they see that connection. And that concludes my presentation for this evening. I will be more than happy, Mr. Weisshire, to address any questions or concerns that the board might have at this time.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Wheeler?
I've got a few things real quick. First off, good presentation. I'm thrilled that you're doing this. The first thing, and I know you don't have it, so you can bring it back at another date, but I'd like to know in CTE the number of students, say in 12, 13, 13, 14, and 14, 15, that are in, broken down by program, so we can see what's growing, what's not, and why it is or why it isn't. That's number one. Okay. Number two, you and I've talked about this, so this nobody else probably knows about it but you and me. We talked about a year ago about doing some sort of a turf program for students to learn about, taking care of golf courses, things like that. Do you remember that we had that conversation?
Yes.
What happened to that?
We are working with that, Mr. Wheeler. That's on the table, one of the programs that we are looking at Osceola High School.
Okay. Well, if you need some help with that, let me know. I can probably help you with that.
I certainly will.
And then, I'd like to know, do we have any type of a, we put students in programs A, programs B, programs C, whatever, and some of these programs are 1 year, 2 years, some are 4 years. The question I've got is, are we tracking these students upon graduation who've made a conscious choice that they're going to go into the workforce, not the ones going on to secondary, and tracking the percentage of these students that are actually going into that field and what their starting wage is? Is there any kind of placement services that we're helping these, like I know we're working with Gaylord, so hospitality, that's a pipeline, it's as good for them as it is for us, I understand that, but as we're developing these different curricula and these different career paths, can you bring us back some sort of a report on job placement versus going on to TICO or Valencia or UCF or whatever? And if it is job placement, how many of them are getting, what out of the students coming out that aren't going to secondary education, how many of those students are actually going into that field, and what is their starting wage? If you can get that for us. And I realize you don't have it right now, but that would really, that tells us we're on the right path. This is working, or these kids are coming out of this program, there's no jobs, and I don't know what that looks like. You understand what I'm asking for?
Yes, I do.
Okay, thank you.
And as you said, I currently do not have that information with me this evening, but I will certainly work on acquiring it for you and also the rest of the board.
Thank you. That's all the questions I have.
Great. Thank you, sir. Board, any other questions, comments at this time? Okay. Belinda, thank you as always for the work that you do and for bringing this to the board this evening also.
Thank you, Mrs. Pinkston. Good presentation.
My pleasure. Thank you, board. Thank you, Mrs. Luciano.
Thank you.
Okay, Board, the next item on the information items was in your packet is 2013-14 Charter Schools Annual Accountability Report, specifically related to avant-garde. Sonia, is anything specific that you need to cover with us this evening?
And thank you for that explanation. Last board meeting, we brought you 12 of the charter schools. This one took a little bit longer because it was their first year, but we wanted to make sure that we included for the record that they as well submitted the annual accountability report, and that made that requirement.
Great, thank you, ma'am. Board, any comments or questions on this?
No.
Thank you, Sonia. Board, moving on, will bring us down to our regular agenda items. We are in curriculum instruction. Board, what's your pleasure with these items?
I would say that entire items A through F with the exception of D. I want to pull D. So I'll take items A through F with the exception of D for approval. I'll make a motion to approve.
Thank you. So, Board, we do have a motion on the curriculum instruction, the approval of letters A, B, C, E, and F. Motion by Mr. Wheeler, second by Mr. Thacker. Board, is there any discussion on these items? Okay. Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor, please indicate by stating aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion does carry 5-0. Board, on letter D, Mr. Wheeler would like to have some discussion on that.
I talked with Mrs. Luciano about it also, and I talked with the city manager. I want to pass this out. Pass this down, please. We just had a charter school in here begging for us to extend them, but obviously because of performance issues, we couldn't, and we can't. We've had some charter schools perform exceptionally well for us in this county. Kissimmee Charter has gotten a C the last 2 years. We've got other charters in the same area that are getting A's. The city's looking for an extension. I think that, in fairness, I'd like the city to do an RFQ for the extension, and if this operator is the top performer, if they get selected, so be it. But I think, I'll tell you what will happen. They got 2 seasons in a row. Then this year there's no letter grade, so they'll say, oh, there was no letter grade this year. Then next year, we'll see how they do. And I just think that, this is a charter operator that was operating Canoe Creek at one time, PM Wells at one time, and Four Corners at one time. And now there's a new operator, and they're getting consistent A's at those schools. I think we want every school to be a top performing school. And I think that we are, public education is what we do. The city does transportation, public safety, economic development, growth management, stormwater retention. They do a lot of things. We don't do that. We do public education. I think in this instance, I think it behooves us, and behooves them to be doing the city a favor also, in my opinion, to ask them to do an RFQ for charter operators and see what comes in. And if this is the best operator that they decide that they want to select, then so be it. But I think that this school deserves competitive selection. This community does. And if they'd gotten consistent A's, I wouldn't be having this conversation.
Okay.
So I'd make a motion. Either we can table this, let the city come back, or make a motion to approve this pending an RFP from the city of Kissimmee for this charter. I've talked with Dr. Esposito. This does not have to be approved until June for this extension. So it's not like they need to do it right now or else. So I talked with her about that. I don't know. That's my motion.
Okay. Board, there is a motion on the
second for discussion.
Table. Is there a second or no?
Let me see if I understand this correctly, Mr. Wheeler. What you just explained is that this particular charter operator has operated other schools that have, after they stopped and a new charter operator came, these schools improved.
Correct.
All right.
Dramatically.
The second thing that I think that you stated was that here what we have is a trend, A, B, C, 2 C's in a row.
Right.
And you want to avoid having the same situation that just came before us.
Correct.
Ahead of time. And number 3, you're saying that it is reasonable right now to at least require as a condition that they do an RFP to see if that option, if there's a better option to operate the company.
Right.
The city holds the charter, correct?
Correct.
They're asking us for the extension. We can grant an extension based on the contingent that they do an RFP or an RFQ.
Yeah. So let's do this real quick. Yeah, we can. Let's do this real quick, Mr. Soto. I just want to turn to you because we do have a motion.
And my question was so that I can
understand
right. What I would be seconding or not seconding.
And that's why I allowed it.
Right. And I already saw the silence that we're waiting for a second. Right now, I don't see what's unreasonable on Mr. Wheeler's position here. It's not interfering with any contract. I think it's proactive. I guess seeing what we're trying to do here is that we're trying to create an environment where the charter schools understand that we have contracts and we have expectations. Contracts that have to be enforced and expectations of what the performance of these schools need to be. And what we, as as a county, what we want in terms of how charters operate. And because I don't see, I see it as reasonable, I'm going to second it as stated.
Okay, thank you. And then, Mr. Thacker, I know you wanted Dr. Esposito to maybe speak to this. Is that correct?
So to be perfectly honest with you, totally confused. So I want to really understand what we're trying to. I understand what you're saying. I don't understand kind of the process of how it's normally.
Okay.
Dr. Esposito, I can tell you too. I've been through it.
Okay, and Mel, do you want to wait?
I will wait.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, this is a charter renewal for Kissimmee Charter Academy. The contract that Mr. Willie is talking about is between the city of Kissimmee and the management company. The contract that we have in front of you is the contract between the city of Kissimmee and this board, and is to renew them for 10 more years. This school was originally granted a 15-year contract because it was a municipality. So this is the time that you, the school board, will grant them that renewal. The contract, like I said, with the management company and the city is a separate contract.
But we can request, we can approve, we can ask for renewal based on them doing our.
Are we legal? Yeah.
Legally, they have a right to be renewed, but they don't have a right to be renewed for 10 years. So it might be appropriate, 5 years would be the minimum renewal, because they're a C school and the state legislature has not deemed it sufficient to give local school boards authority to require something better than a C. So you don't have a legal basis to deny them renewal, but you don't necessarily have to give them 15 years or 10 years either because of the C's and no grade this year.
Right, and further, there's nothing precluding us from doing that either.
Correct. You can also do it. You can go either way. You could give them the 10 years that I think Dr. Esposito has presented, or you could table it and request that staff reach out to the city and see if the city would be willing to RFP or RFQ their management contract with their vendor. And if they were willing to do that, then the school board could say we're willing to, when it comes back, to give them 10, possibly even 15 years. You also have that legal power. That could induce them with a carrot.
Right.
And if they did not do that, you could renew them for 5 years. But legally, you've got to renew them. It's just a question of how long.
Right. Mr. Thacker.
That was helpful. Still confused. Really on the motion now. Right. The issue. I'm not sure I'm understanding. The issue you really have is with the operator.
They're not doing competitive stuff. Right.
The matter before us is between us and the city.
Mm-hmm. Clarence, to your point though, I mean, that's a great question. I mean, after Larry just clarified that, I think one of the things that I'd be willing to do is to withdraw the motion, if Kel's willing to withdraw the second, and let go to, and it may be Melba, you talk to the city, and see if they're willing to do an RFP or an RFQ for the longer extension. And so we can table the extension until they come back with an answer. It's something it's imminent, we have to do right now or else. I mean, he said it's got to be done by June, correct?
Yeah.
The charter expires in June 30th, so all the negotiations have to be done prior to that, so there is no lapse in the term of the contract.
We got 4.5 months.
Let me, Mr. Booth wants to speak.
Should we not let the charter holder decide the management company? I mean, is that how this goes?
Ultimately, yes. However, in this instance, I think they're making a mistake and they don't understand public education as well as we do. If you really want to boil it down.
Let me say something here because I second the motion.
I know I didn't second, is it?
Yeah, that wasn't exactly. I think that what I interpreted Mr. Wheeler to originally say, and I think this is what he really means, hopefully.
I understand it. Unlike Clarence, I understand. No.
It's that the charter here should go ahead and just take into consideration that there looks to be a trend. We don't know what the causes are at all, but to go ahead and at least evaluate whether a different operator would, that's available with their needs, would be able to go ahead and help them perform better, or whether, look, this is just the best that we're going to do right now. And given the trends that are going down, and what we've already seen, I thought that was a reasonable approach.
I just didn't know if that's the authority that this board has. I mean, the charter holder
Larry,
has.
would you say can Can we condition something like that?
Yeah, there are a number of policy decisions here. Legally, you've got to renew them. They're entitled to be renewed, but you could renew them for 5 years. So in the spirit of partnership, and I've worked for cities that are very proud of their charter schools, like Pembroke Pines. They have a whole charter school district.
They have 8 schools.
Yeah, and they're very proud of them. So I mean, it's appreciated that the municipality wants to extend itself and try to develop a good program. On the other hand, in a spirit of partnership, I think it would be reasonable, if you choose to do so, to table and see if they're willing to RFP or RFQ, and if they are, offer the inducement, the carrot of a longer renewal term. I mean, it's up to you though. If you could either do tonight, you could do the 10 years, you could do 5 years, or longer, or it could be tabled.
Okay, let me.
The only legal issue I have to again emphasize is you must renew them at some point before June 30th. Under the statute, they're entitled to be renewed.
But if the city of Kissimmee has the charter, should we not let them decide where they're going to go?
This is where they decide to go.
Hold on one second. The superintendent wants to speak as well, and then I've kind of yielded the floor thus far. I want to express my thoughts on this. Mr. Booth, I think you're right. I genuinely do, and I don't see. There's 2 things here. Number one is that these grades that we're looking at are not Fs. They're not what we've just talked about, and so I don't think that there's a direct comparison that we can make there. No, I'm fine with that, but let me finish my comments without yours. The other part of it is that the city is requesting that we renew their charter. I don't personally think that it's appropriate for us to try to dangle a carrot or force them into doing something that they may not want to do. And the other point I would make is I don't personally see an issue with approving this, which number one, as has been shared, we need to the extent is one question. But there's nothing wrong with approving it and then saying to the city, and by the way, we would love the idea of you going out for an RFQ and seeing what happens. Ultimately is their decision, not our decision. I think it stays within the spirit of what we're working to create through collaboration within the community. I don't think that we have an imminent situation here to where we've got a school that's failing. I think what you're asking for, Mr. Wheeler, is I don't think there's anything wrong, and I think the spirit of saying we want to make sure that every school in our district is an A school if there's an opportunity. I don't know that I want to get into the idea of saying to the city, well, you don't know what you're doing as the governing board of this charter school because you're not the school board. I think that sends a very poor message, and I don't think we would send that to any other charter school board that's in existence either. So I just don't know that I feel the same way that it has to be one or the other, or that we couldn't approve it and then also say to the city manager to express to his commission, the school board approved this, we appreciate the partnership. Also, there was a comment from the school board that you may want to look at doing an RFQ. That is their decision, not our decision. So, I mean, those are just some of my thoughts at this point. I want to go to the superintendent, and then Mr. Wheeler, your light's on after that.
I had an opportunity to speak to Mike Steigerwald, the Kissimmee manager, and he had a conversation with Mr. Wheeler, I believe in October, in regards to this RFQ. Mike stated to me that he did bring it to the commission, and they said no. And they said no, that they were not interested in doing that at this time. So I just wanted to make sure that everyone understood that Mr. Steigerwald did bring it to the commission in regards to the request from Mr. Wheeler, and that the commission indicated that they were not interested in doing it at that time. However, I also agree with the fact that a contract is just that, and forcing them to go into an RFQ or requiring that of them, I'm not sure if that's something that we would want to impose upon them.
Okay. Mr. Wheeler?
You know, I appreciate everybody wants to be warm and fuzzy with everybody else. At the same time, we were elected to be the educational leaders of this town. And that's our job, and we've got to decide, are we okay with mediocrity? I don't know. I mean, I'm not. So now the question goes, you know, I'd be okay tabling this, taking it back to the city, saying, look, there are several options. Obviously, we know we've got to approve something, but we're not, you know, mediocrity is not what they're all our kids. Every public school in this county, I don't care who's got the charter, they're our kids. That's what we were elected for. These are the same kids as every school in the area, and they can get A's at the other schools. So now I gotta ask myself, does the city truly understand public education? And I'm not gonna say they don't have any understanding, but our job is to really understand it. Now, I'm convinced these kids at this school can get an A. They haven't so far. I've got to say, okay, I've got other surrounding schools that are, what do those schools have that they don't? So again, I would encourage this board, before they would do anything, to table it, and if they don't want to, they've already decided to extend this charter operator for 2 more years. So they're okay with C's. If you guys are okay with C's, you're okay with C's. If you want to tell the city that C's are okay, then that's fine. I'm not willing to send that message. I'm willing to send the message, we expect excellence, and we don't expect any excuses. With that said, we would like you to consider an RFP or an RFQ because of this trend. If you don't do it, to Mr. Brown's point, we'll do a 5-year. I would do a 5-year. I couldn't support a 10 or 15-year extension. If they do an RFQ and they get somebody in there that's got a track record, and I'm not going to say which firm it should or shouldn't be. Who knows? Maybe New Dimensions comes. And they decide they want to run their school. And they do a great job. I don't know who's going to come out. But if they can come with confidence that they've got somebody on track who's going to bring excellence to these students, to this community, I'd be willing to go beyond 10 years, et cetera. So I don't know how the rest of this board feels about it. I would prefer not to approve something tonight. And I think to your point, Tim, I realize you don't want to tell them what to do, but you got to hold people's feet to the fire for excellence. You either expect it, demand it, or you don't. It's that simple. And so far, they're not demanding it. They're willing to settle. I'm not willing to settle. If you guys are, then that's, it's a board majority's going to rule. I'm not willing to settle.
Mr. Soto?
Well, there's a lot to be said, Mr. Wheeler, with our contractual obligation, our statutory limits. We have to approve the charter. I understand that. But what also I did not consider until the superintendent mentioned was that the city commission took upon their consideration, and I imagine that I'm hoping that they went ahead and evaluated what we're seeing, and they're not. It seems like what we're doing right now. We're trying to go ahead and condition a renewal, which I'm not even sure we could do anymore. It's going to do more harm than good at this point when they've already declared an intention that they don't want to do an RFQ.
I made a mistake.
It wasn't a mistake. It was a poor decision.
It was a poor decision.
All right, I have my piece.
All right, I'm not convinced you're helping your case with those comments, Mr. Wheeler. Superintendent?
I just wanted to mention that there are representatives from Kissimmee Charter, and I believe they've been waiting to see if they can say something.
City of Kissimmee.
City of Kissimmee?
Yes, City of Kissimmee.
Okay. There's a couple clarifications I want to make. Mr. Wheeler, the fact that people don't agree with you does not mean that people somehow automatically are accepting mediocrity and that you're the only one that is looking for, expects excellence from everybody. And I take exception to the fact that you think that if I don't or someone doesn't agree with you, that all of a sudden that means that I want to see something different than you want to see. You and I just sometimes very much disagree on the path we take to get where it is that we need to go. The other thing is, I don't really think there's any value in making any disparaging comments about our city commission or the city manager or the decisions that they made. We may disagree, and I'm fine with disagreeing, but to say that because they have a C, that somehow they want mediocrity or that they're okay with that, we have C schools. Does that mean you want mediocrity? They're the governing board. Well, hold on. They're the governing board of this school. We're the governing board of all the other schools that exist in this district, and we have C's. And I know for a certain fact that you would say that you are not satisfied with C's, but yet at the same time, under your watch, we have C's, and under my watch, we have C's. So I think it becomes a little bit problematic when you start saying that because it's a C that they somehow desire that. That would be the same, if you were being fair and equitable, the same as saying that somebody could say to you that you want C's because under your watch, we have C's as well. I just think if you're gonna make those comments, they should be made in equity and with fairness across the board to everybody. My opinion board is simple. I'm not looking to create a situation where we tell the governing board of that charter school, the city commission, that they have to go out for an RFQ. I have no problem at all saying that this school board has suggested or recommended they look at it, but making it a condition upon the approval of this charter, I have a problem with. The other point I would make is that whether or not it's a 5-year or a 10-year or a 15-year renewal, I'm very much open for that conversation. That to me is a different conversation. But I'm not inclined to go in the direction that you are leaning towards, Mr. Wheeler, and not because you and I don't want the same end result. I just think in this instance, you and I have two very different opinions of how we need to get there. So those are my comments. Mr. Wheeler.
Tony, I appreciate that. I'm not going to get caught up in political correctness. I mean, I got empirical data right here. You're right. I made it abundantly clear at the last meeting I was not pleased with the performance here. So with that said, I'm not going to fall back and say all of a sudden I'm pleased with this also. This is something that they have made a choice based on whatever decision they made to continue with somebody who is obviously performing at a lower level than other similar schools in the same area operated by a charter company. So with that said, I mean, I've said my piece. If you all, want to make nice, I'm not looking to make nice. These kids at this school, they got 1 year in 2nd grade this year. Next year's 1 year in 3rd grade. I'm not going to compromise on excellence for students. And if some people think I'm indelicate in my statements, then they're going to have to think I'm indelicate in my statements. I'm standing up for the students at this school. I'm not standing up for what might be right for the city of Kissimmee, what might be warm and fuzzy. It's about what is in the best interest of these students.
Thank you. Mr. Booth?
Dr. Esposito, what's the recommendation? What is your recommendation?
Like I said in the agenda item, the review team look at the criteria, look at the renewal packet that the school have provided to us. We had a visit at the school in January, I believe it was 13th. We had conversations with staff, and then it was the staff consensus to recommend approval of the 10-year renewal.
I'll make a motion
for number 2. There's actually a motion with a second on the floor right now, to be fair. So unless you were going to make a superior motion, that wouldn't be in order.
I just was going to make a motion to approve D.
Okay.
Do we have to vote on the other one?
We need to deal with the motion that's on the floor unless the motion maker wishes to withdraw it. Mr. Wheeler, I assume you do not. Is that correct? Okay. And the second still stands from you, Mr. Soto?
I'm going to withdraw my second on that. We are going to condition any kind of renewal on an RFQ.
Okay.
However, I just want to continue with a discussion here that by statute, we're only required to renew for 5 years. And I would definitely make a motion for a renewal of 5 years and not the 10 years.
Okay, so let me deal with the motion that we currently have.
I'll second that for discussion.
Okay, so let's go back one step though. There's still a motion on the floor. The second has been withdrawn. There would need to be a second to Mr. Wheeler's motion, which was
I'll
the
withdraw
motion.
my motion.
Okay, so the motion's been withdrawn. Mr. Soto, please state your motion.
Exactly, it's that the renewal by statute is required for 5 years. I'm just quoting Mr.
By statute, I'm sorry.
5 years by statute.
By statute is the beginning contract. Renewal, there is no terminology. The only time that the statute is specified is for 15 years, and it has specific criteria for that 15 years.
They don't meet the criteria where they'd be entitled. They're not high performing.
Yeah, that's why the reason.
I felt that would be a reasonable, because the first term is required to be 5 years unless they're a municipal charter or a high performing school coming into your district that can demonstrate they're high performing elsewhere. They're also entitled to 15. And so there are some specific examples. So to me, less than 5 years is unusual in my experience. Typically charters that are mediocre performance grade-wise, it would be a 5-year renewal. That's what I've seen throughout the state.
And because we were involved with renewing a high-performing school that didn't just get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 A's in a row. Was it 5 or maybe even 6? With 4 corners.
4 corners since 2007, so 8.
You know, when we're talking about something 10 years and more, that's pretty much, kind of like what I felt is the standards that this board had. And so I would make a motion for 5 years, and that, we don't have to guess, and we wouldn't have to guess what the commission, what's, like Jay did, I'm not gonna read into it, except that 5 years. It'd be nice to see four A's in a row after that.
Okay, so I'm coming to you. We have a motion by Mr. Soto with a second by Mr. Wheeler.
Discussion.
Okay, I'm coming to you. For the, I know you did, for the approval of a contract extension, charter extension for 5 years. That's the motion that we're dealing with. Mr. Brown, I want to come to you.
Just very briefly, I'm giving you statements of the law. I was unaware, for example, until it was just stated by the superintendent, that the commission had already considered this and had rejected it. I was unaware of that fact. And I just, in the same spirit, I'm not part of the policy-making team, and you have staff that did the field visit, and they have recommended 10 years, and I think that's a discussion that would be worthwhile to have.
Right, okay. Mr. Wheeler?
First off, I think 10 years is generous when you get this kind of result. That's number one. Number two, I think 5 years is generous. But with that said, we have motion for 5 years. I second it. Let me add, what I would like to add to the motion, I don't know if anyone would consider it, is that we would consider a 10-year if they did an RFP or RFQ. Otherwise, they get the 5. Hold the carrot out. I don't know if you're willing to say
I just want to know, Dr. Esposito, why 10 over 5 in your recommendation?
Yes, sir. The Kissimmee Charter request was for 10 years, and like I said, the staff look at all the data, they look at the reading packet, then we went to the school, we have a lot of discussion with staff, and based on those two elements, that's when the staff recommended a 10-year renewal. And like I said, you have attached the evaluation, and there was a lot of conversation during that visit.
And they're going
Mr. Booth, is that satisfying? Okay. Just to be clear, Mr. Wheeler wanted to know if there was any flavor from the board to go forward with the 5-year renewal, but also say that if they went out for an RFP or RFQ process, that this board would consider a 10-year. I don't know if there's a flavor from the board, but that's what he's looking for.
Right.
Okay, I'm seeing none. Mr. Wheeler, I'll come back to you, and then we can move on from there.
No, I'll withdraw.
Okay. Okay, board, so for clarity right now, if there's no further discussion, you'd be voting on the approval of the charter agreement between us and the city of Kissimmee for the Kissimmee Charter Academy for an extension of 5 years. That's what you'd be voting on right now. Okay.
And does that have any negative impact going forward, 5 or 10 years?
Well, if you give a 5-year, then it's up to the city, and I would like, if you have any comments. Sometimes schools like to renew for 10 years because of the financial stability, but I will have the city address that. Our recommendation is based on the data that we evaluated.
Good evening and welcome. If you would also, for our board's benefit, identify yourself.
Yes, my name is Jeff Tillman. I'm a management analyst with the city of Kissimmee. And I would just like to, on the city's behalf, let you know that we are very interested in the education of the children of the city of Kissimmee and Osceola County. We did just recently renew the contract with the Imagine Schools for 2 years. We're not accepting a C, but we have spoke with them and their plan of how are we going to get to that B's and A's like they used to. I know that in the last couple of years they've had C's, but for years before that we had many A's and B's, and that was the normal. But recently it has went to a C, but we are working with Imagine to get back up to A's and B's, and we would recommend a 10-year renewal if that's possible.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Wheeler?
And in fairness, I appreciate your comments, but there's not a school out there that's getting a C or D who's not going to tell you that they're not working on getting an A or a B. I mean, every school is, but meanwhile, I wish I was making this up. I'm not. So, and they're gonna, when you come and visit the school, they're gonna show everything in the best light that they can. They're trying to make an impression, and 10 years is money. I mean, I think 5 years is, under the circumstances, is generous and fair.
Okay. Board, any other discussion? Okay, so we'll go forward with the vote at this point. For clarification, we'll be voting on a 5-year extension at this time. All those in favor, please indicate by stating aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no.
Nay, just because staff recommended 10, I guess.
Okay, and you were a nay as well. Okay, so the motion would carry 3-2. I voted in favor of that.
That was the 5-year.
Correct. So we're done. Thank you, Sonia.
Well, thank you for the lively discussion.
Thank you, Jay.
Board, it brings us down to.
They have a right to be renewed again in 5 years, even if they're still a C. They have a legal right to be renewed. It just gives you another opportunity to have them back sooner for the same discussion. You know.
Sends a message, we're concerned.
Right, and Mr. Brown and Mr. Tacker, exactly, it's that while financial planning and considerations are great, sir, and I understood your comment, it's only so great as to where a trend is going in terms of what the assessments are showing with the students' performance. And so I think that we have a good balance here, and so we do expect to see those B's and A's again, and hopefully we'll get a 10-year right there, next time that the charter is up. And that's what I
think the city casino will get the message.
Okay. I just want to make sure that things were clear. The way that vote went down was a 3-2 vote. Mr. Thacker, myself, and Mr. Soto voted in favor of it, which is a 5-year extension. Mr. Booth and Mr. Wheeler voted against it, so it was a 3-2 in favor of. Okay.
But clarify, because I would have supported the staff recommendation of 10 years.
And clarify, I wouldn't have.
So one wanted more, one didn't want any.
And clarify, we are past that item. All right. Business and Finance Board, what's your pleasure on
Motion
letter
to approve
G?
item G is submitted.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Thacker. Board, we do have a motion by Mr. Wheeler, second by Mr. Thacker on the approval of letter G under Business and Finance. Any discussion? All those in favor, please indicate by stating aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The motion does carry 5-0. Brings us down to Facilities Board. What's your pleasure on these items?
Motion to approve items H through J as submitted.
Thank you. Board, there's a motion by Mr. Wheeler with a second by Mr. Soto on the approval of letters H through J under Facilities Board. Is there any discussion on these items? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor, please indicate by stating aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The motion does carry 5-0. And Board, that brings us down to School Support Services. What's your pleasure?
Approve item K is submitted.
Thank you, sir. Board, there's a motion by Mr. Wheeler. Is there a second on this item?
I'll second with discussion.
Thank you. So there's a motion by Mr. Wheeler, a second by Mr. Booth. Mr. Booth, discussion?
Yes, I just I read through this document. Quit pointing at me. I read through this document that was submitted. I want to thank all the folks that put it together. I had some problems with it. I know we were changing some language to be up on the federal regulations. I want to thank the staff, actually, for addressing each and every question that I had. But I still would like to submit some changes before I would approve this document. First of all, and actually this is what they sent me back with all their answers. And thank you, Ms. Hollenbeck. I really appreciate it. You guys, I know I put you, pressured you to get this done for tonight. So a couple things is there that I wanted to bring to light is that we have a document here talking about food and our children and what we serve. And we don't have any language in here specifically inviting local food producers to the table. I'd certainly like to see that. I don't think anybody intentionally left that out, but I'd certainly like to see that added, especially on the pages and bullet points that I have pointed out. Number 2, it seems like every industry lobbied to get on this list except for the meat industry of some sort. So I would at the least like to add lean animal protein to the foods that are supported by our food centers.
Is it the only amendment you got, Ricky?
Well, I got like 3 pages here, Jay. But
Okay, well, make them in the form of amendment. I'll accept those. Okay, so.
yeah, I just want to go through and make sure. And I just wanted to state, for everybody to state publicly, that each of the changes made here will not affect any concessions at any athletic events going forward.
So I still get the hot dog. Okay.
Provided there aren't changes in the federal law.
Correct. Provided there are not changes in the federal law. So I guess in the form of an amendment, I would like to add, I've got to get back.
Provision for local food vendors?
Yes, on page 2, bullet 1, I'd like to add local food producers. I'd also like to add that in the language that is stated with students, parents, teachers, food service professionals, health professionals, and other interested community members. I'd like to add local food producers as well. Page 22 as well.
you folks who do not know, I'm going to let these folks introduce themselves so that you know who they are. Ray, I'm sure you're familiar with.
Love Ray.
Deborah
Yes.
Brentley is our district's registered dietitian.
Yes.
And Candace Roberson is our wellness person with the district.
Awesome.
Thank you, ladies. We appreciate you being here. Okay, Mr.
So page 22, and then also on page 20. So those three areas, and those stated there.
All would be the same notation?
Yes, local food producers are local agricultural /
Before I
food
accept those
producers.
amendments, just, I consulted with Mr. Brown because we ran into this in the past with
Yep.
construction, and this is different. So we can do this. So I will accept those amendments.
Wait, one more. I got one more.
And Mr. Booth,
Yep.
I do want to get Ray and staff's kind of.
Yeah, can I make my motion real quick? I'll be finished. And then also on page 4, nutrition education, bullet 5, all school center staff will promote fruit, vegetable, whole grain, and dairy consumption. I'd like to add that we will promote food, vegetable, whole grains, dairy, and lean animal protein consumption.
I accept those amendments as presented. Do you accept those in your second amendment?
Absolutely.
Okay, so.
And that completes what you're looking for. Okay,
That
Ray,
was it.
just real quick, any thoughts, comments, feedback that you want to provide to the board before they take any action on this?
Well, the only thing is, by specifically inviting a local food producer, correct me if I'm wrong, ladies, we don't specifically invite anyone to the Shack Committee or to the Wellness Committee. We encourage anyone that wants to participate in either one of those committees to come to our meetings. We don't single pediatricians out. We don't single anyone out to come and join our committee. We open it up to anyone that wants to participate on either of the committees, the Shack or the Wellness Committees. And even the wellness committees out in the actual school centers, you know, I'm sure the principals encourage anyone in their community to come and participate in their school center wellness committees. And they don't single out one entity or one group over another.
No, and I want to make clear that I don't believe that was intentionally left off. I think these ladies, this document, and I know we've got a lot of federal regulations, and we've all got our thoughts on that. And I know these folks have had to work hard to come up with this document, and I really appreciate the work that they've done. I would just like to add that into the document and see that, if that's okay with the board.
Yeah, and so there is acceptance of the amendment to the motion. The way we would work through that is voting on the amendment first and then voting on the amended motion. I just want to make sure, where is it? I'm looking at the document. Where is it that you're wanting it included? Just from
I'd like to see it on page 2, bullet 1.
Okay.
I'd like to also see it in the language on page 22.
I'm with you. So engage students, parents, teachers, food service professionals, health professionals, other interested community members, including. Okay.
Correct, just to be added as one of those groups.
I don't have a problem with that. Board, so any other discussion on that? Okay, so we'll be voting on the amendment to the motion at this point in time. So all those in favor, please indicate by stating aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. It passes 5-0. Mr. Willer, your light's on. Is that
discussion?
Okay. Okay. So now that brings us to the main motion as amended, which would include the items that Mr. Booth has articulated, and Mr. Willer, I'll come back to you now for that.
I just want to point out, Ray does an amazing job feeding our kids. I mean, every day you feed tens of thousands, and I know that you've got an entire army of people who do it. I know you don't do it, but
They do an outstanding
But
job
you-
every single
But every
day.
good organization needs a good leader. Ray, you know, she just shows up every day, she gets the job done, and these kids get fed, happy, and I just want to recognize, I appreciate everything you do, Ray. I just want, and your staff, so please share that. Please share that with
Yeah.
share that.
She is the best in the state. There is no doubt.
Ray's awesome.
Hands down, she's
No,
the
you-
best in
you
the
don't-
state. We would encourage you as leaders and elected officials to help to support changes in legislation that would allow them a little bit more flexibility with the types of food that they feed children. Nationwide, a lot of food is discarded from student trays because there's been a push for so many healthy foods. Don't get me wrong, I love healthy
Please don't
foods.
eat it.
But I'm telling you at the same time, you look at something that you think is healthy, like a whole grain chicken sandwich from Wendy's, and we couldn't even serve that whole grain grilled chicken sandwich on our middle school lunch menu because it exceeds the calorie limit for that lunch. So they're faced with a lot of challenges with food service, with using whole grain pastas. I don't know how many of you have ever eaten whole grain macaroni and cheese. Have any of you eaten cardboard and sand? I don't, but I'm just saying.
I won't admit my dietary habits only because you set it up that way, but that's okay.
There has been a change in the federal legislature, the federal Congress. They are moving to try to relax some of those things. It would be helpful to children.
Well, if you can send us the specific statutes and what you'd like to see changed or added, that would make it helpful, because we're not going to figure it out on our own, Mark.
And this department is per a conversation I had with Mrs. Hollenbeck, is struggling even monetarily because of some of the changes that have been taking place. And I know that they're having to work even harder to get things done. So I do want to applaud those efforts. So thank you, guys.
We're feeding less children because children are choosing not to eat in cafeterias because they don't like the selection.
My kids are really mad there's no more popsicles.
Our people do the best job in the world trying to work with cardboard and styrofoam.
And my wife wishes she wasn't making lunch and stuff.
Great. Mr. Thacker?
All this legislation is federal, not state.
Correct.
Yes. Which is part of the issue in my mind.
Yeah, all funding
big
is
issue.
I just want to make sure when Mark was asking.
Department of Agriculture.
No, since our department has been under the Florida Department of Agriculture under Adam Putnam, we have thrived since Adam Putnam has taken us over here in the state of Florida. And we're one of only 3 states in the entire nation where the Department of Agriculture runs the school lunch program in the states. And Adam Putnam has done an outstanding job for all of the school food service departments in the state of Florida. He truly cares about how our children are fed every single day.
We have a phenomenal Commissioner of Agriculture in the state, without a doubt.
Yes, we do.
Yes. Okay. Board, so you'll be voting at this time on the amended motion, which includes the language that Mr. Booth had shared.
Thank you for indulging me.
Okay. All those in favor, please indicate by stating aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The motion does carry 5-0. Thank you again, ladies. Superintendent recommendation. Melba, anything at this time? Okay. Mr. Brown, I know you have a couple of items you'd like to cover with us.
Right, I'd like to request an executive session to occur at the next school board meeting, and we will publish the notice in the usual way. Is March 17th the next?
Yes, sir.
Okay, that will be timely enough. We just needed it to occur in March. The cases will be Cruz, CRUZ versus school board, Uniform Wizard versus school board, and KH versus school board. Those 3 cases will be noticed. And under law, we can also discuss any other pending litigation to which the school district is presently a party, so long as the discussion is limited to those matters that are set out in the statute.
Great. Thank you, sir. And that will take place, we'll add it to our March 17th meeting at the end there.
Thank you. And if I may briefly go into the subordination agreement then. We went ahead and closed the Ryan Company's deal because they tendered the money, and my real estate people said they sent the money, but they're actually at risk because they wanted the subordination agreement before closing, and I didn't think they would be ready to close, and I sent out an email in that respect, and I might have to prove me wrong. I think they wired the money in, and so in any event, I have a subordination agreement that I previously sent to everyone. It's a routine document that is customarily requested. The only problem in this case is they didn't request it until after they signed the contract. We've sent it out before. It's really something that could be signed by the superintendent if there's consensus to do so. If I don't hear any objection, I just want to make sure that the board is aware, and I don't find any problem with the actual document itself. It's been negotiated.
Yeah, board, any concerns or thoughts on that?
Thank you so much.
No, we're good, Mr. Brown, and superintendent can go forward in signing off on the subordination.
Thank you very much, and that's all.
Thank you, sir. Mel, we'll come to you for an update, if any.
Just a reminder, we were just talking about March 17th, but a reminder, 3:30 we have our workshop on curriculum and instruction.
Great.
On the 17th.
17th.
Oh, right. Okay.
Is that all?
That's it.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Wheeler, I'll come to you now. You have a few items under new business.
I'll be as brief as I can. With athletics, Ryan, you're still here. I saw you still here. I talked with Mr. Phelps about this. Mrs. Luciano was absent. A couple things. First off, I've been to several athletic practices, and I see kids in practices wearing rings and watches and necklaces. And do we have a policy about kids wearing jewelry? You know, I'm just worried about them getting hurt. I'm not worried, and I don't care how it looks. I don't want a kid getting caught on it or a kid hurting themselves. Is there any? Do we have a policy relative to that?
Ryan?
No, there's no policy for practice. There is a policy for games and contests.
Okay.
Not for practice.
I think, I don't know how the rest of the board feels about it, but I think we should probably have, I mean, we all played sports.
It is a policy at all the little leagues and soccer and baseball. Yeah, you cannot, practice or a game wear any jewelry.
I mean, I've had to go up to coaches at basketball.
They make me take my earrings out every time.
You left one in. I've had to go to coaches during basketball practice say, have that kid take the watch off.
Let me ask a question. Has this posed a problem during practice or of any safety or any injury because?
Not that I'm aware of. Nothing's been reported or come through my desk that would show any injuries. Our risk management and our insurance company would have any of those claims, but nothing that I'm aware of. But it's not allowed in games and for safety reasons, and if there are coaches that are allowing it, then we'll certainly address that with those athletic directors, coaches, and schools.
I just think during practices, I don't know if we need a policy about it, but
I wouldn't be entertaining a policy over
Not
something
today.
that is not, hasn't caused any issue whatsoever. Well, I mean, that we know of. I mean, we're gonna go into speculative land to another dimension here, Mr. Wheeler.
I've played sports for a long time. I've seen kids get hurt with crazy.
It's different in practice than it is in actual games. Is that why there's the natural policy on jewelry during? Can you explain to me why this policy is not extended to practice?
I don't know. We don't have a policy for practicing. We would like to think if there's something clear stated that you can't wear it during a game, we would like to think that a coach would be observing that in practice, and if they're seeing a watch or something like that, then they would be asking them to remove that.
Have you heard from coaches that that such a policy would benefit them in any way or improve this?
This is the first time it's ever come up in 5 years that I've been in this position.
Thank you very much.
And I just saw it for the first time this year at high school.
Mr. Thacker?
I guess if it is indeed a safety issue in a game, why is it not a safety issue in practice? And I'm not sure if it's a safety.
It would be a safety issue in practice, but we're in a situation where, again, coaches should be responsible enough that if they're seeing that, then they should be asking them to stop.
Well, I don't want to
remove that from
I don't
whatever it is.
like the idea of a formal or we regulate everything as it is, but maybe it's something as a consensus.
I'm happy to go back and meet with the schools and reinforce that. And we have a coach's handbook that we're happy to, procedural handbook that we'll put that in there and constantly remind coaches when you're conducting a practice, it's treated like a contest.
Fairness, if I'd never seen it, I wouldn't have brought it up.
Sure.
I mean, and I saw it this year for the first time, and I saw it 3 times this year.
Yeah.
And I've never, but.
It's the first time that it's come across my desk that.
I'd imagine maybe what you're alluding to as well as the high school handbook kind of outlined that as well, just as a general.
We have one
practicing
for our
guideline.
coaches, but the FHSA handbook, we follow the National Federation of High School rules, and it's clearly stated in the National Federation of High School, jewelry cannot be worn unless it's for a medical or religion.
And that includes practices as well?
There's nothing in there that covers
Okay,
practices.
only
Practices are
competitions.
governed by the schools themselves.
Okay.
And keep in mind that kids practice a lot more than they play a game.
Sure.
So
I think, Mr. Will, I think you bring up a good point, and I think if everyone's okay with just give some direction to go back and just
That's fine.
reinforce that the board has some concerns and wants to make sure that all the students are safe and not using jewelry during
We'll be happy to do
practices
that.
as well as games to make sure that there isn't an incident in the future that we have to deal with.
I've got more athletic issues as long as you're up here. On game days, I don't know what it is from school to school, but are students required to wear on game days a shirt and a tie? I mean, boys anyways. Is there a requirement for that?
No.
I don't know. When I played, we did. We always wore a shirt and tie, or sometimes wore a shirt and tie with a jersey over. I think that it'd be good for students. It'd be good for that particular sport, and they're representing the school. And it's also good for team building for that team. I mean, all the kids on the team are doing it that day. I don't know how the rest of the board feels, but that's something I think that everybody benefits from.
All I know is they used to do that at OHS, and it cost me a bunch of money to buy ties for the football team one year, because nobody could afford ties, so.
Well, I'd be willing to help underwrite those ties.
I mean, it's a big district.
Board, any other comments on that?
I think they'd look good. I don't know if I want to force them to do it.
Okay.
Encouragement.
Yeah, I know.
We wore our football jerseys on game day, right? That's what I did.
They were jerseys on game days?
Yes. We have some schools that their football team wears jerseys, and other sports are allowed to wear part of their jersey, depending on what sport it is. But again, that would be up to an individual coach of what their philosophy is and what they want those students wearing.
I just think it's good for the team, too. It's good for the team and the school.
Sure.
Yeah, I like it in concept. I don't know that I want to create a policy around it.
I just know that it makes, everyone wants to belong to something, and when you're working that hard on football, basketball, baseball, cheerleading, whatever, and you got a game on that day, it makes you feel like you're really part of something. It makes you feel special, too. And should, because you're working your butt off if you're really, going to all the practices and working hard. So, okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ryan. Ryan, you got a score for the Osceola game?
No, I'm sorry. I would have been at the game.
I know. We had that conversation. Osceola's playing a really good Bartow team. Report cards. I've been on this board since 2002. Twice in the last year, we've had problems with report cards. It's never happened before. What assurance do we have, Mrs. Luciano, this is not going to happen again?
I'm going to have Angela explain what has happened.
I don't want to know that it's not going to happen again.
I'm not going to say that to you. I'm going to have Angela explain what has happened through focus, through terms, and then what we are doing to ensure that it doesn't happen again. Go ahead, Angela.
Mr. Wheeler, first of all, I want to acknowledge the fact that we were not pleased with the delay in the Q2 report cards either. Let me go back to last spring, first of all. Last spring, when we did report cards, they were produced under our term system, and it was part of our transition into focus. This year, we just completed our second round of distribution of report cards with the focus system. There were issues, definitely issues, and what we learned was that there were some issues that we had control over, and there were some that we do not have control over. First of all, when you are working with a hosted program and you have IT issues, you are totally dependent on the vendor to help you resolve those issues. The issues that we do have control over, because part of them were systematic on our part, they were process and procedures from our staff and our teachers. We have addressed those. We have also worked closely and hand with our vendor to ensure that we have procedures in place as we move forward to make sure that we have a more rigorous timeline and enough time to do the validation and the accuracy check of those numbers before we send them out to the schools. The other piece that we do have control over, because we have learned that the validation time was not long enough, was to adjust our calendar for distribution of report cards for Q3 and for Q4. So we have put in place the measures that we feel we do have control over, and those that we are working with the vendor, we will continue to work diligently to ensure that we have accurate report cards. Every quarter has its own unique elements for producing report cards. We are 50% through that cycle. Anytime that you start a new process or a new project, you've got to go through it one time completely in order to understand all of the nuances that are attached to it. I believe that we are 50% through. Do I know what all of those unknowns are going to be for Q3 and Q4? No, but I do believe that our staff and our team, in conjunction with the vendor, are looking forward, we're looking ahead, and we're trying to put in place those efforts and those procedures to ensure that we have accurate report cards, and we are going to adjust, we did adjust the calendar so that we can meet our deadlines for Q3 and Q4.
And thank you, Angela. All I'll say to that is, Mrs. Luciano, let's not have this happen a third time. And if you got to hire a subcontractor, an outside vendor, whatever you got to do, I don't care what it is, to make sure this doesn't happen again. It's happened twice in less than a year. First time, okay. Second time, it was embarrassing, unnerving, extremely disappointing, And I appreciate the presentation, Angela, but it falls on the superintendent. I've never heard of this happening anywhere else twice in a year. School districts do a few things. They bus kids to school, they teach kids, they feed kids, they get report cards out accurately on time. And I think that's a minimal expectation we all can and should have. So, thank you.
Mr. Wheeler, we do have that same expectation with our vendor. It is definitely our intention to continue to work with them. I will remind you again, it is a hosted solution. And when you have IT issues with a hosted solution, you are very dependent on the vendor to rally behind you and to get those done. Our vendor has definitely rallied behind us, and we're putting in place every possible measure that we can to get quality and accurate report cards out on time.
Thank you, Angela. Melba, it's your responsibility.
I'm fully aware of
Okay,
that.
good.
Thank you.
Good.
Let me just comment real quick, Mr. Wheeler, because I agree with you to the extent that we don't want to see that happen anymore. I think, Angela, the follow-up to that would be, clearly communicating to the vendor the disappointment from the board with regard to that and their need to step up. And again, I know we've had conversations, you've articulated they have been stepping up and they've tried to do everything. But as we've also discussed personally, and I think as other board members probably feel as well, we need to send that message to them that this isn't acceptable, we don't want it anymore, we need to see the delivery of the report cards on time. I think the adjustment of the schedule was a smart move to stretch that out a little bit so that you guys weren't under the gun as much as you were. But I think Mr. Wheeler's right, this isn't acceptable. If the vendor's working for us, they need to make sure they can perform for what they've been hired to do.
We will convey that message. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Mr. Wheeler?
I will be as brief as I can on this one. Melba, I make it a point to not surprise you. This is one that I'm going to surprise you with, unfortunately, because I brought it to your attention before, and Leadership 101 is you stand up for your people. At the last, I apologized privately to Dr. Akes at a function last week. At the last board meeting, we had somebody get up who maligned Dr. Akes, and you got to stand up for your people. And Tim, you shouldn't let him go on, in my opinion, also. But anyways, Dr. Akes, I apologize to you. That was wrong. There should not be personal attacks. Melba, you let it happen to Clyde once before in a public meeting. Now you let it happen to Dr. Akes. I expect anybody in leadership, if you're a principal, you stand up for your teachers. If anybody in leadership should be standing up for the people that work for them publicly and not let people lambaste them. I held my tongue last week because, to be honest, I was waiting to see if the superintendent would say anything, and Mr. Chairman, I was waiting to see if you'd say something. So, a lesson learned, Dr. Akes, I apologize. I shouldn't let it happen. I apologize to you privately. I'm not trying to put you on the spot. It was wrong. Statements made about you in public. Nobody should be under attack other than board members. We signed up for this. The superintendent signs up for it. Nobody else who works for this district has the right in front of us to be attacked by anybody for anything, in my opinion.
Thank you. I would just say, because I do feel that I have that responsibility to the board, I was weighing whether or not I need to interject on that particular item. I did not feel that I needed to. I didn't feel like it went to the point that obviously you did, Mr. Wheeler, and that's okay. No, and I respect that, and I respect your opinion to think that I failed in that regard. I did also take it. That's fine. I did also take it to heart enough to go back and watch the video and see if I felt like I did fail somewhere as chairman in that. I honestly don't think that I did, but I think we just maybe are looking at the comments that were made differently. But I do want to recognize my accountability and responsibility to you as fellow board members to make sure that I make sure that the context of what's happening in our meetings are appropriate. So
I want to make a brief comment.
Sure.
The comment in question was in public comment, right? The yellow sheet. Correct. It was done by a private citizen of this county, and it was basically their own private opinion. I did not see the need to apologize for Dr. Akes. Whenever I see him and we talk about the issues and whatever it is, I always thank him for the work that he does. I think that he's a great asset to this county, to this school district. I've mentioned that as much to the superintendent as well, who I also feel is a great asset to this county and to the school district. And Mr. Chairman, it's very important that we do not do any act to chill speech in this public forum. So, in my opinion, I think that you did the right thing. I hope that this would reinforce you in the future when you see some comment that may be unpopular, unless it crosses the boundary where the board attorney tells you that maybe we should allow people to express themselves. I think that makes it lively. I like that people could come up here and express and give us guidance and how they feel, comment about what we're doing. I wouldn't want this board to do anything to change that, even if it means comments like the ones that were made and we're referring to, which I don't agree with. I still agree that they should have been said, and I'm very glad that you did allow it. And so, you know, I thought it's important that this board knows that how I stand on public speech, and it goes very far until the board attorney tells us that we're going into something that's not free speech.
Thank you, Mr. Wheeler.
I thought the comments made bordered on harassment. And with that said, you know, I realize we have a difference of opinion, but with that said, in the future, if that happens, I'm going to stand up and I'm not going to let anybody attack any of the staff members here. I mean, the first rule is you stand up for your staff, and the second rule is if you can't stand up for them, you get rid of them. And with that said, I stood up. It happened to Clyde. I stood up for him. At last time, I just waited. I wanted to see. And Melba, I was very disappointed you didn't say anything.
I'm not going to make a comment.
I know you're not. I don't expect you to. But
make a
with that said, though, I know you're uncomfortable with this, Dr. Hicks. Again, I apologize. Let's just leave it at that.
Mr. Brown.
There is no policy, so it would be very difficult for the chair to stop, because without a policy in place, you do run a serious risk, not necessarily that gentleman, but someone's going to sue you under the First Amendment. However, you can consider neutral, viewpoint neutral, content neutral limitations in the limited public forum of open for public comment. It's an issue that I've dealt with a lot for different government entities over the years. For example, we represented the city of Cocoa, and I handled the appeal to the 11th Circuit, Roe, R-O-W-E, against city of Cocoa, where the city of Cocoa said under open for public comment you could not speak unless you lived in the city or paid taxes in the city, or if you worked for the city, you could only speak about your employment. And Roe was the head of the NAACP, but he lived in Rockledge, not in Cocoa. And so he was shut down under their standing rule. And the 11th Circuit affirmed you can control, it's a limited open public forum. So as long as, you know, and you've also got to balance the liberty interests of the employees not to be disparaged or defamed with no ability to clear their name, if you will. So, you know, under 1983 cases, we had one of those cases here in Osceola, the Manus-Cox case years ago. If people are disparaged in the public forum, they have a right to a name-clearing hearing. So rather than get into that, I mean, it's not easy to do, but you could draft a policy that says if an employee is being impugned in his job performance by name, he will be, you know, the speaker will be directed to take it up in another forum and have a chance to work it through. You know, those personal attacks are difficult, and in addition to the ones that were named, I recall when people stood up and accused the ESE staff by name of violating federal law and abusing kids. I mean, they were really getting carried away. And so, you know, if the board wanted to explore looking at a policy that could, you know, because if you know, under defamation, one of the defamation per se categories is being criticized or disparaged in your employment, and that's a slander per se. Not that it's easy for any of these people to sue, because they're also public figures as senior staff. They have a very difficult time of suing, but nonetheless, if you're disparaged falsely in your employment, that is a defamation per se, along with loathsome disease, sexual deviancy, and some other categories. But you know, if the board is interested in exploring that, or we could continue to carry on as we've had, and every so often we have a brief moment of ugliness. That's your policy decision.
Board, any thoughts, comments, questions on that?
Yeah. I'd like to see some language to consider. I'm not saying that I would or wouldn't, but I'd like to at least have vanilla and chocolate to pick from. I mean, because I don't like the idea of people being able to come up and defame employees and disparage employees, because they don't have an opportunity to really respond back. And it's not fair. I mean, if they want to do it to us, we're fair game. I get that. That's and the superintendent. We signed up for that. But everybody else who works here, they don't deserve that. I really don't believe that it's fair to them. I think if we really support staff, we really do, we should at least look at something like this to make sure that we got something in place that it doesn't happen to staff. I think it's the right thing to do for staff.
Here's, Mr. Booth, I'm coming to you next. My opinion on this is this board and anyone that's here or has been here knows that I'm very intentional about making sure that I extend dignity to everybody that I deal with or that deals with me. And that I've been very intentional at a number of times, both as a board member and as a chairperson, to stop somebody when I felt like they went too far. And I think that's part of my responsibility. I know it's part of my responsibility in the role in the chair that I sit in, and the opportunity that's been afforded to me by you guys. I don't honestly, because I tend to lean more towards where Mr. Soto is on this. There's a very fine line that we need to balance in, do we need to create rules or policies or anything that's going to dictate what we do or don't allow, short of the fact that we are capable, competent, caring adults that I think all have the right intentions of how we're going to govern and operate our goings-on up here as a board. It's not, for me, any lack of supportive staff. It wasn't that I necessarily enjoyed hearing people being mentioned by name. As mentioned, it was brought to my attention. I was purposeful about looking back at the video, say, did I make a mistake? Is there something I failed to do or something I need to improve on? When I looked at it, the comments were really, was so-and-so ushering resources here. It wasn't, and I may be wrong. I mean, maybe I need to look at it a third time or a second time. But it was more comments about what was or wasn't happening, and the fact that the superintendent and Mr. Akes were mentioned by name, I didn't feel like they were intentionally, or he was intentionally putting them down as much as he was saying that he didn't feel like they were ushering the resources in the direction. Here's, I think, that for me, though, the end thing. I will say that I completely agree with what it is that you want. And I would say that I completely agree with the idea of making sure that myself or whoever sits up here, that we always try to make sure that as people are addressing the staff, that it's done in a an appropriate and a professional and a I think caring's an overword, but a professional and appropriate manner. I don't know, honestly, Jay, that we need a policy or a rule to lead and guide that.
Look at it.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with you looking at one. But, I mean, that's just kind of my thought, and I respect, this dialogue and this opportunity. I would just disagree that, that's somehow, I just don't see where it crossed the line. But that, whatever. I mean, it's my opinion, your opinion, Mr. Soto's opinion at this point.
Who was defamed here? I think in the end, if you watch back the video, if you see the response of the people was here, I think the person who was defamed was the person making the comments, defamed himself. And so, you do that, you do it. Motion to adjourn, by the way.
Let's just come back, Mr. Wheeler, and then we'll wrap up.
Yeah, I just got one last. I mean, think about all these people who work at the district. We can't give them stock options. We can't give them a bonus. We can't give them a dividend. We can't even give them a Christmas turkey. But what we can do is we can let them know that they can come into this room to a board meeting and they're not going to be attacked by name personally. I think that's fair and reasonable. These people, they work their tails off for our kids every day, whether we agree or disagree. They work for the superintendent. They don't work for us. They work for the superintendent. I think that they should be able to come in this room and know that they're not going to be attacked by name, and the board's not going to just let it slide because of freedom of speech, et cetera. I mean, I think that these people, we need to let them know that, to your point, we want to handle everything with dignity. They can come in here with dignity and walk out with it, and we're not going to let someone disparage them while they got to just sit there and take it.
Okay. Board, do you have any interest in our attorney expending time and resources to create a rule around this?
I do.
I do not.
No.
Mr. Whiteshire, you have statutes that say you're the presiding officer, and if anyone ever disrupts the meeting, you can declare them disruptive, and there's always a law enforcement officer who will remove them from the meeting, and if they resist arrest on the way out, then that happens.
Yeah, in this case,
so that always is a backstop if someone ever gets to the point of disruption.
I support the chairman with how he handled them over a year and a half. And Mr. Wheeler, I support you, how you handled it. I think that you're changing your own standard, by the way, as to where you were in the chair.
I never went into disparage.
And it's how you define disparage all of a sudden, by the way. But I'm not gonna argue with you. What's very, very important here is that we do not create an atmosphere where we just have rules after rules after rules that in the end, it's just gonna go ahead and hamper us in the job that we have to do and prevent people from expressing what we need to hear from them. So if we're gonna, it's a fine balance. I like the balance as it stands.
Okay. Board, if there's nothing further this time, we will stand adjourned.